Hey guys, it is time again for another episode of Max Reads the Changelog, this time for Unification version 7.3.5, the version that you have heard a lot already, and it's a lot of stuff that has been adjusted, some new stuff as well. Most of the fixes, there are a hell of a lot of bug fixes, not all of them are in the changelog over here. It is mostly what is adjusted, like balance and gameplay adjustments mostly. Some notable fixes are also written down here. You can read it yourself if you want to. But if you don't want to, or have something you want to hear while you are working or jogging or falling asleep, whatever, this is a hopefully nice video for you guys. So we start with the factions, how they are listed here. The first one is the Adeptus Mechanicus Explorators. I'm gonna read what you see here and sometimes explain what is the thought process behind it, basically. If there is something not really, how should I say, that obvious. So we start with the AdMech, of course. Warrior of the Omnisire, the tier 1 sentinel kind of. The last cannon has reworked to have the same sets. I think it was a bit too weak, so now it's stronger. And the heavy flamer damage now does less morale damage, because it was reported that it's basically bringing the morale of a squad from 100 to 0 in no time. So this is now being adjusted a bit. It is still relatively early on the field. You might remember in the 7.3.1 it now requires a strategic point, so it cannot be built right away. Then we have his Hypaspis, the Skitari. The melter gun has been reworked. It is now similar to other melter guns. There are some, let's say, most of the AdMech weapons had some, let's say, weird armor penetration values and whatnot. A lot of them have been adjusted already previously, but as there are so many, there is something that slips through. And they have now a higher reinforcement cost because they are pretty strong. You can now field 4 right away, and they stay relevant throughout the game. So small cost increase is very good for them. The listening post has been adjusted. The Tesla coils now deal 10% less damage. They still have the AoE damage and stuff, so it is just toned down a bit. And the conversion beamer, that is the weapon of the LP3, has now a bigger range. It is like the big laser, looks really menacing, but then you notice that it cannot shoot very far, so this now has been increased a bit. The Carapace armor upgrade, HP modifier, they previously or currently before this patch have doubled the HP of this Skitari, which is a big change. This is now only 75% to see how it works out. I mean, it still increases the cost of the Skitari if you build new one. Of course, not the one that are already on the field, and reinforcement costs are also not affected. So let's see if this is better or if this needs to be adjusted a bit more. The Imperial Knight has been reported that it is a bit on the weaker side. It is the tier 1 Titan for AdMech, so this is now, how should I say, reworked or adjusted to be an really tier 1 knight. So the weapons has been adjusted to basically buffing the weapons to be in line with other tier Titan weaponry. Its armor class has been increased to vehicle high as intended, and has now also a void shield that is working like other tier 1 Titans in the mod. The living base, the relic unit, basically has been buffed in HP. It had only 6,000 HP. To put this in perspective, I think a monolith has 10k, so it has now a bit more. Support Praetorian weapon has some reload time decreased, so be more standard. Remove the cost of the cost increase for the Skitari and Assault Skitari for the advanced targeting optics, so it only increases the damage by 15%, so it did not warrant the cost increase for much, so this now got removed. Another unit that has been adjusted was the Aetos drone over here. It has its base damage reduced and its building pans reduced as well. So it is a little more less backstabby, and it's still a really good unit for tier 3 but not as much as before, so should be more balanced now. The Servitor Plasma Cannon had a very low AoE. I actually noticed it by playing that the Plasma Cannon for the Servitors wasn't the greatest. Now it has more of a standard AoE. Some have 4, some have 5, some have 4.5, something like that, so it's good now. And this is one I have worked on or suggested a bit. Worked on is the wrong term because I do not really mod myself, but yeah, consult a lot, you could say. Is the economy for AdMech. There has been some stuff brought up that they are too weak, then they got buffed in the previous version, now it's too strong, so I got in the nitty-gritty of things, calculated stuff left and right, and got to the conclusion that the AdMech economy was actually super strong and needed to turn down. I mean, in the first 2 tiers it was more or less equal, but then due to them having the income upgrades tied to their tiering upgrades, makes their economy super strong. So this is one of the things that has been adjusted. Okay, I read it now, okay? The requisition gain from the defense LP2 has been standardized to the 18 instead of the 19. The LP's upgrades has been increased because they were very cheap. The defense post now, the one with these Tesla coils over here that deals big damage, costs now more than a standard listing post because it has this good weapon, and the research post costs like a normal one, and also the cost of the LP3 for the research has been increased a bit. You still need it before tiering up, so that's why it's not that high in cost like a normal LP3, because you actually need it for tier 4. So you cannot go tier 4 without having this. Remove the economy boost from the tier 2 add-on and the tier 3 and tier 4 researches. So you get no automatic bonus economy just for taking up. But you now have new 2 income researches in tier 2. This needs to be tier 3 here. Tier 2 income research costs 250, 150. Increases the resource of both resources by 20%, and another one in tier 3 which costs 100 requisition, 100 power more for another 20%, which is a total increase in 44. This is kind of the middle of a road value for requisition and power, and it increases both because we all know AdMech can switch on power income on and off whenever they want, so there's no real need in increasing the income for only one resource, because you can switch the resource gain anyway. And this switch also has been made a little more in line to be not that so super strong. It currently gave, I think, costing income of 8 requisition, giving you 24 power. This is a bit too much. It now only gives you 20 power income. And again, this is a switch. You can pop it on and off how you like it, so this is a big advantage still. And a big advantage is still that this income does not decay. The income for the listing post, the requisition income decays, but the power income does not. So this is still a good economy for AdMech all around. So it's now more in line with the other factions, you could say, but yeah, a little less over the top. The tier 2 add-on now increases the HP of the machine reliquary by 3000, so it goes from 6000 to 9000, and then if you build a living base, it increases the HP even more. And the tier 5 research has been reduced to be more in line with like how a tier this is tier 5, this is tier 1 Titan actually, but it's not like coded like that completely, I think. More in line with other tier Titan tier production facilities and stuff. So this has been reduced a bit because there's only like the Titan and maybe 1 or 2 researchers behind this. So it's now a little bit more accessible. So this is all about AdMech. You see that they have been mostly nerfed because they are currently considered one of the stronger factions. This is, I think, well earned, or it's a good thing. I think they should now be more balanced all around in tournaments and stuff. Now to the next faction, the Blood Angels. There's just a general thing over here. All the flamers and melter guns that had lower range than 25 has been normalized to 25, so they now can actually be used better. And one of the most important things for Blood Angel, I think we have seen it in the Invitational, the craft pistol. They had a big AoE stun, which was like stunning whole squads and whatnot. So the stun duration is from 4 seconds reduced to 1 second. The stun chance also reduced, and the AoE reduced. This now should still allow them to like stun single entities like vehicles or commanders, but not whole squads, especially now that the AoE is lower and the chance. So you would need quite a lot of craft pistols, commanders to stun a whole squad and stuff like that. So this should be a good thing. The listing posts for Blood Angels are a bit special, that they have the autocannons and the craft cannons. So they currently not performing like autocannons and craft cannons, so that's why the range for them got increased and also the damage a bit. But to compensate for that buff, you could say, the listing posts now cost more. Both tier 1 and LP2s and LP3s now cost more. Another thing that was on the stronger side were the scout shotguns. They were like in 1 or 2 patches ago still one of the strongest shotguns in the mod, but had a little bug with their AoE thing working. So the AoE got fixed and the damage got reduced a bit, but they are still on the stronger side. A bit too strong, you might say. So that's why they got a cost increase. The DPS got reduced and the knockback values got normalized. So this should be now more fair shotguns all around in tier 1. The Baal Predator is the one with the 2, you could call it Gatling cannons, has now minor suppression, which is nice. And the Razorbacks are now limited to 3. You will see this in the previous version, like the Rhinos were mostly normalized around the mod to require 1 vehicle pop and have a limit of 4. You will now see for multiple factions here that the Razorbacks are now normalized around the mod. All of them are limited to 3 and have a pop cost of 2. You will see that whenever it's a faction that had them and were not in these values, you will see the adjustment over here. And another one of the Black Rage and Red Thirst. I finally found out what the actual effects are. As someone told me, and yeah, for the Red Thirst, they only got like more maximum HP and maybe some HP regen. I'm not sure, but basically that, and that was it. So the Red Thirst wasn't really benefiting much. You still have like the counter side that if you Pomal breaks, that the unit gets out of control, and the bonuses from the Red Thirst was not completely mitigating that. So they're now getting a 10% damage boost when in melee and also a 50% morale regen when in melee. So they do not break as easily when in melee. So yeah, you can keep the control of them a bit better in melee. Especially this one, may be too strong, in the sense that the idea is to break the morale so they get out of control and stuff like that. So if this turns out to be too strong, this could be removed again or reduced a bit. So keep an eye out for that. The Black Rage, the Black Rage was all over the top. It had you get more damage when it activates and stuff like that. So it was not me thinking that the Black Company dies so easily. They were really squishy. So they do not have the increased melee damage taken modifier while this is active, which is super counterintuitive. You get them into melee and then they get increased melee damage. So this that didn't make any sense. So this got removed, and the range damage taken was now put to the standard value. Like I think almost all squads get a 70.4 whatever percent reduced range damage taken when in melee. So this is now standardized for them. So they do not take any more damage. There are still buffs for them, I think, when in melee, like more damage and stuff. I'm not really sure what the actual buffs in, but the buffs stayed basically, and the nerfs for them in melee got removed or changed to standard values basically. The primary suppressors now require the Reclusium instead of the Orbital Relay, which is a cool change. These are the jetpack autocannon guys, making them a bit more accessible. So they are now tier 2.5 instead of tier 0.3, I think. I would need to look up if they still require tier 3 It would be a bit earlier for them out, because you do not need to build orbital relay, and in tier 3 you can get them immediately. I think they still require tier 3. It would make sense now. The Sikaran Omega now has a proper size. You will see this, the Sikaran tank and other factions also have their size changed a bit to be the proper size. The Land Red Infernus Flamestorm Cannon range modified both, okay. And a lot of new voiceovers for Machine Heliod, Death Company of Foot, Assault Scouts, Tactical Marines, Chaplain Lemartes, Commander Tycho, Chief Librarian Mephiston, and the Sanguino. So there's also for some factions like Blood Angels, and you will see later for Imperial Fist, a remaster or remade voiceovers, as they have good voiceovers, but for some factions you can hear the age basically in which the faction was made. So there's now an ongoing project to exchange some of these relatively old voiceovers. Okay, this is Blood Angels. We now come to the Black Templars. The Land Raider Achilles Thunderfire has a reload reduced. So the Land Raider Achilles Alpha has a Thunderfire cannon in front, so this now shoots faster. Reduce the max squad limit of the Razorbacks from 4 to 3. This is what I've told you earlier here. High Marshal Helbrechts, Mr. Helbrecht, HP got basically doubled to be more in the kinda chapter master like units, to be more viable. The Venerable Dreadnought has now a name, Tancred or Tancred. You see this, like the Venerable Dreadnoughts will now get like names of famous Dreadnoughts, like this is the most famous. And a new model for the Primaris Blade Guard veteran Neo Worktide pistol. Okay, so mostly cosmetic stuff, you could say. So Black Templar hasn't been changed a lot. Now going to the Chaos Marines. The Helldrake Baleflamer was pretty good against aircraft, which was said to be the counter basically, and so this has been reduced, so the Helldrake can now be countered by aircraft. The Demon Prince now has a ranged attack. This is now real awesome. It has this little arm, cannon on the arm, which wasn't firing at all. Now it can. It is not super amazing damage because he's still made for melee mostly, but it can now use the ranged attack, which I really like. The Skull Champion can now be possessed, and this is also a nice thing for you campaign lovers. The Carrion now has a Neo Volk-type pistol instead of the regular melter gun for his war gear. Added a missing sync kill animation as well. So he has now a Volk-kite instead of a melter pistol, which I really like. So this is also all for the Chaos Marines. They were in a good place, and yeah, nothing real needed adjustment over here. Other than, which is not so true for the Chaos Demons, there has been still some adjustments over here. I think these are now mostly done balance-wise. I think in my mind, you can still argue, or not argue, you could discuss with me, for example, or with the devs, share some replays if you see something is too strong or too weak, so it can be assessed the best. The Demon Hood Ascension was in tier 1 Titans, which is very late, so it's now tier 4, which is still later than normal. For most Chaos factions, the Demon Hood Ascension is tier 3, but you can get really strong Demon Hood Ascension guys. The Demon Princes, especially the Undivided Demon Prince, is very strong and is good that it is in tier 4. Remove the cost increase for Defilers and Warp Spawns on the field when corresponding is built. Like there were a cost increase for these kind of units, the tier 3 units, that if you have one Defiler on the field, the next Defiler costs more and costs more and costs more. This now has been removed. You can now build them for the same price. Remove the cap of 4 for the Furies, so which is, I think, good. So you can now, if you want to, play Mass Furies, which is very taxing on the micro, so please try to do it. The Nurglings are now very much cheaper, from 150 requisition to 100 requisition, and the reinforcement costs even cheaper, like only 9 requisition. So you can now use them for their actually meant purpose to swarm the enemy for very cheap cost. Another thing I noticed is that choosing the marks was costing, so they are now free of cost. So you can now really just think of what mark I want to go. It has still the downside that it locks you out of some units and some gives you units and buffs units and stuff like that. But it is, yeah, you can now make the choice very early without a cost. This also allows you, if you, for example, delay your Demon Lord for a bit, you can then pick the mark and get the corresponding Demon Lord out of the right away. Removed all requirements in order to choose a mark. This is also the same, basically. Reduce the cost of giving a mark to a listening post a bit, because this is a mechanic that is rarely used, because the power is very valuable for Chaos Demons, as they do not generate power the normal way. It gives good buffs to the corresponding units, so this is kind of still okay, but to make it more easily to be used like this. Yeah, ability cost. Remove the power cost of the following abilities. Like, there's a lot of abilities that had like a token power cost and stuff, and especially for the Demon Lord, the Flame Tongue and stuff like that. Later on, the Blood Frenzy, whatever, all the you can read yourself. Basically, all the ability cost has been removed. You could say there's still one or two, like from the Lord of Change. There's one thing, I think the time thingy still costs power. And Scarbrand's Warp's Storm still costs power, but a little bit less. This is also to allow them to use their power more for units and upgrades and less for these spells. Demon power is very valuable for them, and to make them that a bit more accessible for the actually purpose of upgrading and getting late tier units. This is now yeah, helping them economy wise, basically. Campaign fixed the bug with the Lord Possession into Demon Brand, so another bug fix. So this is for the Chaos Demons. We now go over to the Dark Angels over here. There was a bug, nobody really knew where it come from, but yeah, that some heroes were not automatically replaced with the Deathwing and Ravenwing counterparts. This now works again. A little adjustment to the scouts. They are still meant to have strong scouts, so they have a very minor nerf to their DPS by 5% for the starting bolters. So this is, it's very hard for those early kind of units. You cannot buff them or nerf them too much. You have to really see how this now feels. And one thing I noticed, that the shotguns were relatively cheap and very effective. We have seen, was it in Invitational or on the UGL, on both, like shotgun rushes for the Dark Angel Scouts, which felt a bit too strong. So this has now been adjusted, so they are a little more expensive, especially on the power side. So you need to make sure, yeah, to use it wisely. Razorback had no limit, has now a limit of 3. Paramounts Hellblasters has now been increased from 1 to 2. These are your tier 3 unit for the Power of the Battle Company, like these guys with the plasma cannons, I think. And you now can have 2. And the plasma gun turret and minefield are now part of the regular roster, so there is no need for the victory condition for them. The win condition we see. WC, the win condition where you had like the turret for the Dark Angels. There's no real need for them not having a turret, basically, so this is now basically always active, which I like. This is already all for Dark Angels. Now we jump over to the Dark Eldar. The Dark Eldar Warrior Shuttle Rifle cost reduced. This is something I was voting for, because the Shuttle Rifle opener was not really usable, in the sense that you need like the Hall of Blood and the vehicle production building, which costs a hell of a lot of power to get. So you would need to get that and a generator. So now you can actually get an opener where you do not get a generator. You get both of these buildings and can still have, I think, at least you can see it costs double the shuttle rifles without getting a generator, which now makes it valuable. You have them on the field early. You still cannot use the models with them because you do not want to replace them. You will need to add a generator later on. So this is now a valuable opener again, which is the main part for this. There's a new ability for the Talos. Like most people are making fun of the Talos because it's not that usable in PvP. It has now the Screaming Machine, increases its speed for this. This is not completely correct. It's not increased damage. It's damage. It takes damage over time, like 10 damage a second or something. Yeah, increases its speed and costs you some souls. Basically, you fuse some souls in it for it to move faster for 10 seconds. Should make it easier for the Talos to close in for melee. The Razorwing, the tier 3 relic unit, has now more HP, gets more missiles and stuff, so it is actually more of a better unit, you could say. Has now the Splinter Cannon, also has the same range, so they are now like 2 weapons shooting and the other ones not, without microing, and the cost has been increased to mitigate for the buffs. Basically, it is meant to be a lore-friendly, really strong fighter, so it now costs more and is more effective. It's still limited to 1. The Tempest, this is the super heavy. This is the Tempest, one of these floaty super heavies. This is basically the quote-unquote stolen one from the Eldar. Can use the Flicker Field ability. Not sure if this was available in the current version. I think it is, which makes them harder to hit, basically giving them some damage resistance, kind of. Most of the Eldar, or all of the Eldar super heavy have them. Now the Tempest has it as well to make it more in line with them. The Trueborn and Warrior Dark Matter Blasters max range increased to 30. I'm not sure what the previous range was, but 30 sounds about right for them. Cost unchanged. The Void Raven Bomber Void Vime is no longer a one-off ability. It is still very strong. You can, and in a normal circumstance, you still can only use one, but because it has 500 seconds. But yeah, in team games, in PvE, you now can get more than one bomb off, which is nice. There's also a new unit, a Corrupted Wraith Guard, being added, which requires the Gold Eagle. Be warned, she may break from the chains should the opportunity arrive. So there's maybe a chance for it to turn against you. I have not tried it myself yet, so I'm really excited to see it and try it myself. That's all about Dark Eldar here. We now jump over to the Death Guard. Death Guard you see here is quite a lot, because there have been already quite a lot of adjustment to the Death Guard, but they are still in a peculiar place. They were too strong when they came out, and now they are considered, I think, except for some units and stuff, more on the weaker side. So they have now some buffs and some adjustments all around. Let's see. All flamers and biflowers, chem throwers and melter guns and whatnot had lower range than 25 now have 25. You remember that from the Blood Angels, which had a similar thing. Reworked Mortarian's Lantern, which is his Volkite pistol he has. It does AP from 2 to 3, has now a small circle. Basically a buff for Mortarian's ranged unit, ranged weapon, which was a bit too weak, it seems. The Plague Whirlwind currently was tier 4 and not that used that much, because there was like the Plague Burst Crawler. It now has a unique use. It has now a poison effect on explosion, cosmetic mostly. As the health degeneration, it is basically not like the spreading poison. Now lasts for 10 seconds per shot, and added a 33% vulnerability debuff on the affected units for 6 seconds. And I'm not sure how high the reload timer is. Is it like 6 as well? I'm not sure. And got moved from tier 3 to tier 4. From tier 4 to tier 3, that way around. So now it can be is available in the same tier as the Plague Burst Crawler is, and yeah, it has its own kind of basically thing it does, because the Plague Burst Crawler for most people were considered the better option, because it has long range and big knockback and big damage and whatnot. So now the Plague Whirlwind adds more of a debuff support kind of artillery. The Death Guard Possessed Marines now have, as they should, Infantry Heavy High instead of Infantry Heavy Med. Costs a bit changed, so they are now costing power to reinforce, and the damage has been increased, I think. So they now can be used as actually possessed Marines and do not die as easily. I need to drink something because my voice is starting already to kind of go away. The disgusting resilient research now affects the Plague Havocs and Mortarius Poisoners. They were currently unaffected by it, and also grants a melee leap to Death Route Terminators. So they now have a melee leap to close the distance, which is very good for them, for the last meter. The Eater of Life no longer shares the DPS increase for the Plague Lord has, because the Demon Prince has it, and the Eater of Life is an ascended sorcerer, not a Plague Lord. Fix the bug with the Destroy Aura application overlapping. There was some Aura nonsense that was not working, so it now works. Nurgle Cultist Grenade Launcher increased damage, so it is very hard to get access to it because you need a specific company, and also the very you need like the barracks and the armory, like the possessed conduit. The Gift of Repository is the armory, which is very late. You get them very late, and to make up for it, they are now better. The shared cap between the Breakburst Clan and the Break Whirlwind has been reduced from 3 to 2. So they have now effective 2 artillery options instead of 3, which was a bit too much. Assault Break Marines reinforcement cost increased a bit because they are pretty strong. The Scorched Generator is now cheaper to help their early economy a bit. You see, like, they need to get the barracks and the armory to take up, and their generators are really expensive, so this is now to make up a bit for them. Company 1 and 5. The Assault Plague Marines gain a Corrosive Plague Bomb. I think it's in tier 3. Through the Blight Grenade research, effective against vehicles. So this is now a vehicle bomb for the Assault Marines, which is really nice. Ulker, the Great Unclean one, the named one for Company 4. Company 4 had some, I think still is in the late game, one of the weaker of the companies. It's very strong early on and then weak on the late game, so this helps them in the late game a bit. His presence on the field makes all trainable demon units cheaper, and he has an aura around him which increases range damage resistance for all demons around him. So the demons are getting now less damage and are cheaper. This also includes the ones that are produced by himself. Another change I really like, the Cultist Doom Blast, which we normally never see because it requires the Purification research, which is in tier 2. Now requires the Gift of Repository instead of this research. So it's available now in tier 1.5, and they can now blast units early on. So we may see that now finally. Both Bright Lord and Destroyer Terminators now can teleport. There has been a bloated teleporter research been added, and they have a shorter teleport than normal Terminators because, Death Guard is still meant to be slow, and having a long range teleport kind of is counterintuitive. Dreadnought Plasma Cannon reload time increased to 5 seconds because they had, I was noticing in cast that it was shooting really fast. The cost has been adjusted to be more in line, reduced, and there was one. Was it the regular Dreadnought or the Plague Dreadnought? There are like two kind of Dreadnoughts, and one could walk away and fire backwards. There was this has been fixed now. Eater of Life also has now been increased HP to be more of a proper option for the tier 4 company. As I said, their late game isn't strong, so this helps again. Death Route Terminators now gain a droning aura, which currently only the Bright Lord Terminators could have. Bright Lord Terminators had. Now the Death Route have it as well. Maximum number of bot flies reduced a bit to be more in line with standard tier 2 flyers. This one is cool. I think the Land Raider is now available for all companies apart from the 4th one because of law reasons as a super heavy. Basically requires now a relic and a critical, but is independent from other relic units. So the most can now field two late game units. Terminator variants for Plague Lord and Plague Caster are now available for the 3rd and the 6th company. They now can get, I haven't tested or played it myself, it's either an upgrade or they start directly with it. They have now the Terminator variant of theirs, which is really cool, I think. Okay, this is the Death Guard. You see mostly buffs, some minor nerfs like the cost increase and stuff like that. Cap reduces, which are meant to be, but yeah, some buffs for the tier 4 company in the late game and some minor buffs here and there, which should help them, especially economy wise with the cheaper generator and stuff, to be more competitive. Following is now the Death Corps of Krieg. The Hellhound Bane Wolf against Monster and High has been changed, I think reduced. Raw damage also changed. Damage over time changed. Increased a bit, duration a bit increased. Not sure what this is all about, if this is a buff or not. It was kind of not performing how it meant to be, now it does. Hellhound Devil Dog damage increased too, also increased a bit in performance. Because the Hellhound was one of the least used units for the Death Corps of Krieg, I think. Added a new weapon option for the Krieg heavy weapon team, the Inferno Cannon. Available in tier 2, it's good against infantry and buildings. They also now have one more member, so they have now 4 maximum members. They still can have 3 like the base model and then 3 of the same if you really like to. So their cost got increased a bit and their pop cost as well. So this is like the same as for the Rex Gen heavy weapon teams, which also have a maximum squad size of 4, I think, yeah. Autocannon heavy weapon squad member upgrade cost also increased a bit. Like the autocannon is still considered for most people the strongest option, and yeah, this is now a bit more shown in the price. The mortar now do not need to pay for their smoke barrage. They still need to pay for their radiation, for the gas, not radiation, for the gas rounds. They still cause fire. Minotaur firing reworked. It now fires 2 rounds as it has 2 cannons, each of them dealing their own damage on their own and stuff like that. So they have now 2. I think they can like hit 2 areas, like there's like a little offset for them sometimes. The spotter flare recharge time reduced. This is for the spotter in the sniper team. It has now a lower cooldown and the range increase for it to be used, I think. The Siegfried armor class now reduced from vehicle medium to vehicle light, because for what it cost, it was very, very tanky. So you could just spam them and have something cheap to tank for you. They are now not as easily, yeah, they can now be killed more easily. Commissar reliability recharge time increased to 90 seconds instead of 60 seconds, because it's like an AoE rally, which is needed for the Death Corps of Krieg because of their if they don't have morale, they cannot be controlled. So this is kind of mitigating it, but this now means you cannot use it as freely. It returns back to the 60 seconds if you are the second morale research, which is in tier 2. So you then come back to the standard value. The camouflage bunker cost reduced by quite a lot because it was never used, and the research is now also in tier 3 instead of tier 4. So you might now see a camouflage bunker in the games. Speaking of bunkers, the medical and repair add-ons are now available outside the Gold Eagle VC. So they are now standard options. I think they also, like you can either get a medical or repair bunker, and you can either get a camouflage bunker or the different weapon options. So there's like 2 things you can now choose from, basically like 2 choices to make. One, is it infiltrated or has different weapons, or is it medical and repair? So you can an infiltrated medical bunker. I think that is how it works. The tank turret add-ons moved to tier 3 because they were in tier 4, so they're never being used, and their cost has also been reduced to be more affordable basically. So now the tank turret should be a bit better in tier 3 scenarios. Fixed the bug where Scout Sergeant Major Wade Wilson was not being able to be reinforced. The Death Hammer has now been moved to the Lucius pattern instead of the Teleportarium. Not a big change. Removed the cost of the reliability for the Commissariat Lehman Russ, which has some token power cost to them, so this is now removed. And there's no new Cathay stuff in the sense. The building that produces the stuff is now not hard limited to 1, but 1 per HQ. So in PvE scenarios, you can later down the line get 2 or 3 of these, depending on how much HQs you have, making you basically available to get full force of Cathay easily on the field. There are now 2 new add-ons to the Thuhong tank, the Gao Huang Red Cannon and the Silver Wing Pattern Rail Cannon. So you Cathay fans, there's something more for you to play around with. This is now the desk of Krieg, so we now jump to the Emperor Straton. One very welcome change is to Fulcrum, which is now like a full Primarch. You see it, he has more HP regeneration, but has no longer the angel form. He will still resurrect as he has the mechanic still, but he will always come as the snake. I think it also has a new visual, I think, or already has, not sure, and has a remastered VO. Yeah, the voiceover is now a lot better for him. The land gifter was not engaging correctly and has a new voiceover from your favorite YouTuber. The avatar of Slanesh is now a bit better, because this was also kind of your Primarch equivalent. You either get Fulcrum or the avatar of Slanesh, so it has now more HP, more regen. The main weapon has now a bit of a radius, some damage adjustment and stuff like that, so it is now a lot better for what it is basically, so it's more in this place where it should be. Remastered voiceovers for both versions of the Lord Commander Eidolon and the Slaneshi Lord, so they now have new voice. The Slaneshi Lord is now renamed to be more on the 10th edition name for him, Lord Exultant. Fix the visual bug with the Stormbolter, new VO. Some adjustments for the last Disruptor, which had some low range for whatever reason. The Slaneshi Sorcerer Teleporter now teleports longer. This is the standard value not for sorcerers but for all other teleporters, so now it can teleport a bit longer. And also now the shard speaker of Slanesh. Elder Benji Exarch has now a new model in the Escapee squad. An actual balance change over here, the Noise Marines reduce DPS of the higher harmonics against buildings, so they are now still very good against vehicles but not so good against buildings, and therefore also the cost has been reduced, so you get it more freely. Some campaign changes. The Compi Melter has been reworked. The Honor Guard Noise Marines are now Tormentors. These are Emperor Straton Chaos Marines equipped with plasma guns. Whoa, nice. I haven't seen that. The Solaris research is disabled for the campaign as it has no usage. Okay. The Created Demonette Commander variant has a new visual, and the Noise Berserkers are now renamed since they're now fully canon. Okay. For some reason, Games Workshop choose to make canon this particular more meme unit. Added before even. Here we are. There's actually little story, fun story. There's some units that have been made for Unification or the mods before they were all united in Unification, that some guys at Games Workshop looked at it and said that's cool and made them actual unit. There's like for the they have now a different name, but the Shield Maidens, so Witch Hunters is one of these examples. Okay, this is Emperor Straton, now jumping over to Eldar. Fix the bug with the War Walkers not being able to upgrade both of their weapons at the same time. Now they are, in a sense, you have a weapon option for the left and for the right weapon, but they are not the same basically. You can get the same weapons both sides. You can see it in game. Remove the leftover Banshee, no damage dealing special attack. The special attack was there's a little story. At some point there was a special attack added to the Banshees, which dealt a hell of a lot of damage. So the damage was removed, but the special attack was still in. So they still have the special attack, but with no damage. So their overall damage was actually reduced because of the special attack. It now has completely been removed, so they are more now the vanilla damaging Banshees. The Warwalker got a little buff, reduced pop cost, and their weapon options is now cheaper because yeah, you have to cycle through them. This is one. I hope the Eldar players around are not too happy around, but yeah, we all know that the Bone Sinker is one of the most usable utility builders in vanilla, at least. It can teleport, it can attack, it has abilities to stun buildings and whatnot, so it costs a bit now more. So if you like in the Necron matchup in particular, where you spam these Bone Sinkers and then use the Wraith Tomb on the monoliths and stuff, is now getting a bit more pricey. Complete FX rework for all D-cannons, or these now look really nice. Maintain the same stats, but are no longer projectile based visually, but rather more likely like the lightning arc as per lore. Applies to the Harlequins in Ynnari as well. They look a bit more like the you would see from Dawn of War 2. They are visually not a projectile, but I think they are still a projectile in the code. Whatever, they are now looking way cooler. Guardians will be now automatically replaced by actual Dire Avengers. So before that it was like basically a weapon that changed them, but they are now complete exchange unit, you could say, maintaining the health, and if border ready warlocks. When the tier 3 is it? Tier 3 research is done, the new unit in the queue will be Dire Avengers instead of Guardians. So they are now completely replacement. Really nice, very welcome. New voiceover for Chainsaw as well. In campaign, the links only required a relic, although being it's only required a critical, although being a super heavy, which requires a relic and a critical. So this has been changed, and also has now the holofield ability as all the different other floaty tanks had. Farsight carries got a long needed makeover, making her much more badass and so on. You can read this part for yourself. I'm not reading it. Complete remake of the Eldar Phantom Titan, both model and code-wise. You have seen the dev showcase for it, and a new unit also in the showcase. I think the Exodite Megadon. For those who have worked on the Exodite, here is a true and real Exodite. Requires a critical point deployed in the great support portal. Also not used myself, looks really dope. Looking forward to use it myself. So this is Eldar. We now come into the Fallen Angels, and you see this is a lot one because there was some stuff that slipped through in the last version, which made Fallen Angels kinda. There was some stuff that were, yeah, as you see, fixed the game-breaking bug where fallen players, because of the powers of knowledge system, could lock out races that use branches. So this is now fixed. Fixed the graphical bug with the Lehman Russ tank. That's now more some balanced stuff. This Zealot heavy weapon team now has more HP and is a bit faster, so they are now not as easily killed. Heavy weapon missile launcher damage increase, so it actually deals damage. Night Last Impulsor range increase. This is some we have seen before as well. Had a really low range. Terminators no longer require 20% power through knowledge. So this was one of the kind of game-breaking things that was slipped through, and the Obliterators now show as they should. Havoc Missile Launcher is now actually buildable, which was also a bug before. Reduce damage of the Plasma Pistol for the builders and the champion because it was really strong. The Vehicle Pop research moved from the Terminus to the Refuge. To have more space there. You will see later on why. Zealot grenade launchers now require 2 anchorages, which is really nice. Frag grenades research requires 2 anchorages, and what is not written here, the plasma pistol and power sword and stuff research all require now 2 anchorages, which makes them actually a bit later on the field. Like the previous solution was for them to require a listening post, but you could just delay your anchorage a bit, and then you still could very fast plasma pistol. So this now requires you to actually get 2 anchorages, which not only takes a bit longer, but also commits you a bit more to the powers of knowledge path. Cyclone missile launcher damage increased or standardized because it was way too low. Anchorages. The powers of knowledge timing reduced to 75 seconds, 10 seconds faster for each. And the building time increased for the anchorages, for like having one and the next one takes longer, and the next longer is now only 15 seconds instead of 25 seconds. So the first one takes 30 seconds, the next one 45 seconds, the next one a minute, and so on and so forth. So this all helps now the powers of knowledge branch basically to be more relevant. It also requires now tier 3 or 10% powers of knowledge, which is basically the opposite of the chaplain, which requires tier 2 or 20% powers of knowledge. So you have a little choice which commander you get earlier, depending on your tech choice basically. Also reach the complete rework in his ability, so he's more like actually a fallen angels. Also you see this also now that the demonic strength for the company master has been replaced with the war cry. You see as an icon update for the chaplain abilities to be more online. Also another commander that has now different or more abilities is the Maria Astelan. The tier 4 commander now has orbital bombardment and a mighty war cry. In addition, he has a new aura which promotes a fallen squad. He's attached to his honor guard, granting defensive and health buffs, and his presence increases slightly the HP of all the banner bearers and heroes on the field. Especially important to the banner bearers, we'll see shortly why. Raptor power swords now require anchorage, before they did not, and their squad members, maximum squad members, has been reduced from 8 to 6 because they are like veteran raptors with better stats, so they are now more elite in the sense they have a lower model count. You will see this as well, like the veterans, the standard Space Marine veterans also now have a reduced squad size because of that. The banner bearers, you see now the rear for the banner bearers, they have a little less HP, so the banner bearer spam early on isn't as potent anymore. They increase the squad cop by 3, and they have now a limit of 3 instead of 5, and the starting squad cop for Fallen Age is now 11, so you need now only 3 of these banner bearers, so they are now more of the actual use they are meant to be, to have them to increase your infantry pop and be a support unit instead of you needing to spam them. Or yeah, the Havocs have also now reduced squad size a bit to be more of an elite use. The initial weapon from 4 to 3, and with the weapon upgrade they still get 1 more. So they start now with 3 special weapon slots and get to 4, which is also their maximum squad. So all of them can get a special weapon after the upgrade as before. Heavy weapon teams, this is also for this one. The heavy weapon teams now take 2 slots in the transport instead of 1, and their missile launcher requirement has been changed from 5% powers of knowledge to 10% powers of knowledge, which is not really important that much because you can get it on the field after 10% powers of knowledge. Change the requirement for the Razorback multi-melter, so the multi-melter is available a bit earlier now, and this one is a big one. The achieved powers of knowledge progress is now permanent, so even if you lose all anchorages, everything that is unlocked stays unlocked. You still get back to 0 powers of knowledge, so if you want to unlock more, you will still need to rebuild the anchorages and wait to get your progress again, but what you have unlocked stays unlocked. A second tier of commander upgrades has now been added, which was kind of missing. A Thunderstrike Gauntlet left arm has been restored or available for the Fallen Angel Knight, so they have now a really cool Thunderstrike Gauntlet weapon. The survival reinforcements had a problem with their tiers. Now they are coming at the corresponding tiers as intended. There was also like a bug that tier 2 was not coming at all, coming at all. A new icon for the Icon of Sin. And the Thunderhawk, now a cool one as well, is now a super heavy unit. Basically requires a relic and a critical point, and is independent from other relic units. So it's, yeah, the flying thing is now available for both branches, you could say. And thus a new unit, the Land Raider Arches, is for the anchorage powers of knowledge, the relic unit now. This is why you would also need some more space in the vehicle building. This is why the smoke launcher research, not the smoke launcher research, the vehicle cap increase has been moved. And the new unit, you have probably seen it, hopefully seen it in my little showcase, Luther. You know whom he is, the Primarch analog for the Fallen Angels, has some really cool abilities, active abilities, but also passive abilities, which increases the max pop from 2020 to 24, I think. Really nice. And also new victory condition locked unit, the Sonic Marines. They were already built as a kind of meme unit. Now they're actually available, apart from Sarsane's Pokeballs, so now they are now available here. Noise Marines, but fallen. Like, not balanced or meant for PvP, but if you want to have them, you can now have them. Oh boy, already an hour in and we are not even halfway through, so you will be here for a bit longer with me. But okay. Continuing on with the Farsight Enclaves. The Archer Cannon has now a bigger range, so to be an actually Archer Cannon. Fixed the bug where Commander Praetorian could melee aircraft. This was kind of funny. And his panzer buildings has been reduced a bit. The sniper drone now costs as the missile drone, so it is now more expensive, has an increased setup time, and its overall damage is reduced because it was reported to be too strong. Crisis Battle Suit, the Flamer, now deals less morale damage because it dealt too much morale damage. And all Crisis Heavy Battle Suits weapon upgrades are now set to 10%, so you can now cycle through them a lot faster to whatever weapon you want to. Sangonomia First Guevesa fixed the bug where the base accuracy was lower than intended. The comments have been late here, the accuracy has also been to the standard. Increased their base weapon upgrades from 2 to 4, also nice. Commander can now produce the drone Harbingers because it could previously not. And his build time has been increased to be more in line with other tier 2 titans. All Orca resource related researches has been moved to the Enclaves Council, which now allows you to use your HQ more for the actual capping units, for your tier upgrades, for your skimmer units and stuff. So it's now more, the Enclaves Council for the most part is not used for upgrading, but mostly for calling in Orcas, which is not prevented from getting an upgrade. So yeah. So the upgrades for the eco upgrades can now be accessed more easily. The drone Harbinger costs has been made more standard. There was like a little bug with them having weird costs. This is now, I think, mostly increased cost, I think. Said drones can now be attached as leaders. This is something that has been requested, is now available. So they can now be attached to squads, so they cannot be singled out as easily. To the Guevesa, to the patrol teams, strike teams and breachers. Basically all the infantry squads you can have, they can now attach to. Change costs for the following tier vehicles. So there were some vehicle changes that were basically not made. I hope you know, or you should know, that in the Farsight Enclaves most stuff costs more requisition and power, as power is more scarce because it's only available through the Orcas. So that like everything that for other factions costs a lot of power costs here now less. You can see it here now, the Hammerhead got completely changed in the cost to be more requisition, but also the ESO stuff like the Sentinels, the Starflare, the Swordfish, not the Starflare, now costing more requisition and power. The Swordfish is the Relic unit, I think, also now costs more requisition, and the Manta also you see here more requisition. And also the tier 1 Titan buildings like the Arc Cannon and the Shield Cannon costs more requisition and power, making them more affordable in the late game. Heroic Fortitude is an upgrade in the Research and Development Center, now probably enables the Pharaoh Leap for Commander Farsight, Sub-Commander Torchster and Brightsword. It had it in the UCS and there was some bug with it. Now it actually gives them a Pharaoh Leap, like a leap into melee. All non-hero crisis and broadside battlesuits regenerate health out of combat, 6 HP per second, which is pretty good because you cannot repair them and stuff like that. And it's also like in the lore they have these repair systems and whatnot. This effect is cancelled when engaged in melee, of course. And here's one thing also helping their economy in a sense, because the economy researches, even in late game scenarios, you rarely saw them. For once they are really expensive, and for second they were only available in the HQ, which was busy doing different stuff. So they are now more accessible because they again only increased income from the Orcas. So they are now a bit more cheaper than your regular income upgrades, and yeah, thus more available, more accessible. Also, the second upgrades were taking a bit too long to upgrade. Sentry drone plasma rifles, default weapon reworked. Okay, jumps for craft tanks reworked. They, I think they were jumping a bit too fast. It looked a bit silly. Now they are jumping a bit slower, making it looking more how it should, basically. And a new unit, I really like it. I really like it. The Diamond Back. This is a little nod to the Sakharov 2. Is it called Razorback? Not sure what it's called completely, but this little craft vehicle which could fire in all directions. Really nice. It also has an ability like spider mines, not spider mines, spider bombs or whatever. So this is also a little note to the Sakharov spider mines. I really like this unit. Really, really cool, I have to say. Jumping over to the Harlequins now. The Vampire Raider now additionally requires a relic because it's like it had only a critical location, and super heavies by definition in Unification require a relic and a critical. And maximum engagement range increased a bit. The setups now probably applied to. There are these tier 3 researchers which gives you buff to your infantry, and at least visually they were not applied to the Chorus, the White Seers, the Shadow Seers and the Construct Assassin. Now it works. Sentry Rail Walker, the tier 4 commander, no longer requires a stage support portal. Not that important for most games, as you would need a stage support portal to get the last building anyway, but if you lose it in some situations, Sentry Rail Walker should not require a stage support portal because she's a commander and not a vehicle. Death Jester's Bright Lance moved from tier 3 to tier 2 and stage support portal, so effectively a tier 2.5 weapon. So finally a good anti-vehicle infantry option, long range, that is in tier 2. The holo suits cost reduced. The second and third upgrade you can see here reduced in cost because they were a bit too costly. The first upgrade still cost 50-50. Artificer holo suits trigger chance increased because there was a bit too low. The other two were good. Art of War and Art of Oblivion research. This is the commander or the commander upgrade researches. They had a damage reduction, which were at both levels 30, now it's 15 and then 30, and a melee damage reduction also got changed to 15 and then 30, and the dodge change got reduced in the earlier upgrade to only have 10%. White Seers can now have Hero Leap because they are relatively slow for these kind of, I mean they are tier 2, but they're very slow. And now you can, if you get the Dance of the Flying Blade research, which already gives you this leap to the tropes, and the tier 3 unit which is called, I forgot, but now also the White Seers get a leap for it. Support platforms now can be built in skirmish instead of only in survival, and they are no longer this survival thing where they get a random, like a random weapon. They now get a standard anti-infantry weapon and can be upgraded to D-cannons in tier 2. So Harlequins now have proper turrets, basically. Okay, continuing on to the Demon Hunters. The Architect and Maintenance Servitors repair now faster. I think this is now, they were very low repair rate. Now this is more of a standard repair rate. And the Architects no longer self-repair, but can be repaired. So they can actually also repair themselves, which is a nice little gimmick. But they now have no longer natural HP regeneration. In line with these, the Tech Marine has now also a good repair rate, as it had only the quote-unquote standard repair rate, which of a standard builder, but it is the Tech Marine, so it now repairs faster. Demon Host's description abilities has been reworked to actually now show what the units actually do. The Land Raider Redeemer were way too pricey, so it got reduced. This is the Land Raider that is the super heavy, available alongside the other Land Raiders and even for the Grey Knights. The Dread Knight build time has been reduced and its HP has been increased, so it is now more viable. Reduce the building cost of the Acolyte, which is used to create demon hosts. Costs now 50 power less and is now faster on the field, so the effective cost for demon host and timing for demon host has been reduced because they are like were not viable in a 1-on-1 PvP. Maybe this now changes it a bit. The Grenade Damocles is now available in tier 3 because in tier 4 you have other priorities mostly. Reduce the reinforcement costs for the weapon servitors. These are weapon servitors, the ranged ones, to cost less power because they are really power expensive, and yeah, they still need to pay for their multi-melter weaponry, so they are a little more accessible now. This is more or less a must-have unit if you go for the Demon Hunter, the Inquisition branch, as your anti-vehicle units. So now they can be more affordable. They also got in a previous version their limit increased from 1 to 2, so yeah. Castellan Garen Grove no longer shares a copy with the Brotherhoods and also received an HP buff. Brotherhood champions now visually actually have Inferno Pistols and Demon Hammers. Cool. And Grey Knight Sight Interceptors now use vanilla Grey Knight voiceovers to be more consistent in the Uni campaign lore. Okay, there you go. And Gold Eagle unit, the true champion of humanity, has arrived to save the galaxy from all inhuman beasts. Another cool commander unit. You check it out yourself. Don't want to spoil too much here. Okay, now we jump over to the Imperial Guard. There we have a change to the medic. The medic has now actually commander armor, similar to all the other commanders, but has now less health, also more in line with the other commanders. So yeah, making him more, I think in general this is a kind of a buff, because it takes less damage and still increases the HP regen, so he should be a little more survivable now. The Javelin team, which is the tier 3 artillery team, yeah, you've seen them in cars being very strong, so they got nerfs here, so they cost more power now, they have a reduced damage, and I think this is either from 1.7 seconds, 75 seconds to 2.7 seconds, or from 2.7 seconds to 3.75 seconds. I think this is right. So they have a longer reload time. They do not shoot as fast anymore, and their attacks no longer attack aircraft, while the frag missiles is switched. So the frag missiles is mainly used for infantry and knockback. And yeah, against aircraft it wasn't really dealing any damage anyway, so yeah. The explosion effects now notify removal, updated to notify removal AA for frag missile. Now costs... Okay, the frag missile ability now costs more. Now something for the Sentinel. There's still were complaints or issues with the Sentinel role in Imperial Guard. The last cannon has now an increased range, so this is the tier 3 thing. But the multi-melter also has now increased range, same as the Devil Dog. Reduced fire on the move penalty, so it fires better on the move, and the standard accuracy also increased, so the multi-melter is now buffed. You will see now in a second why this is important as well. The Hellhound Banewolf AP, this is the same as for the Death Core of Krieg, so the Banewolf deals now more damage to demons. And this is important, the Devil Dog, I think the Banewolf as well? I thought the Devil Dog and the Banewolf is now tier 3. Maybe this is missing here, but most importantly the Devil Dog, the Melter upgrade, is now tier 3. So it no longer competes with the Melter, multi-melter or anti-vehicle role of the Sentinel. So the Sentinel is now again your go-to anti-vehicle vehicle in tier 2, as the Hellhound has not that option. It is available later on. Later on you can have a more durable anti-vehicle and an anti-vehicle vehicle with the Devil Dog. You see that the damage has been increased, so that it's a kind of variance for it being tier 3. And it also goes more in the logic that the IG vehicles have. You get vehicles in tier 2, you get new vehicles in tier 4 basically, and in tier 3 you can get new upgrades for your vehicles, kind of. Sentinel is now also cheaper, and the multi-laser is a bit more better against all targets. So the Sentinel got overall a buff, and Hellhound got also a buff, but is now the cool weaponry and stuff is now available later. Special weapons, the unit that most people have used a version ago for the grenades is now more usable now, as they have more HP in the base unit, and the spotter, which is their kind of squad leader guy, health regeneration also increased, and their weapon now have the same range as Guardsman Lascan, so they have now longer range with the melters, so they can actually be used better now. Knight Last Impulsor, you have seen it in other factions, has now better range, and the Venus has now a new proper look. Okay, haven't seen it myself. Campaign Gold Eagle, the Testudo now has the survival kit, which it was missing. Survivor Chimeras had it, but not the Testudo, which was forgotten. The Accursed Reaper, this is now all gold Eagle. The Cursed Reaper now has a chance to explode on death, which I like. I thought has a new VO. There's a new unit, the Command Testudo, with a special variant of the Campaign Testudo available in the Gold Eagle Regiment. And a new unit, the Marines Malevolent Primary Squad. These unlikely allies are available in the mask pattern. Be careful of even more friendly fire. Danger close. There you have it. Gold Eagle got a few more units. So yeah. Now that I have finished my campaign. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Now coming to Imperial Fists. You see there's quite a bit for Imperial Fists, as there were some bugs and now some improvements as well. The Whirlwind Scorpius was kinda lost. It is now back. The Land Raider Prometheus is now in the HQ to make room for the heavy armor fortification. In the heavy armor fortification there were a lot of icons, and there was one icon too much, you could say. So the Land Raider Prometheus is now in the HQ, but to make space in the HQ, the Smoke Lancer Reacher, which was in the HQ, is now in the armory. So there you go. Both random threats properly renamed with the heroes they carry, which is nice, like the random threat of Imperial Fists and Crimson Fists. Hammerfall bunkers can now be built outside of the build radius. It is similar to other tier 3 big turrets of, for example, Necrons. And which one is also, there was another one I forgot now. These, for Tau, these non-artillery tier 3 turrets are generally be able to build anywhere, and this is now also true for the Hammerfall bunker. Buildings UI index improved, like the jumping icons and stuff like that has been improved. The Razorback cap, not the limit, like the cap cost is now only 2. Effective, a little buff to them. They are still very strong, I know that. They are very costly still. And yeah. We can see if this is too good, or if the Razorback, which is in a peculiar space for Imperial Fists, I know that. We will see how it goes. I haven't seen Imperial Fists in PvP for quite a lot, because they were a bit nerfed, I guess, too much. So you see some buffs over here to help them to be more competitive again. Damocles and Prometheus long range scanner no longer have any costs, which is very nice. The frag grenades has now the proper cost, because it's a tier, because of them it's in tier 2, and was very expensive for some reason. Now it's a normal cost. Melter bombs, which are available in tier 1, are now a bit more cheaper. They still cost more than the standard melter bombs, which are available in tier 2 normally. So there you have it. The heavy assault intercessors raised their limit from 1 to 2. Removed their tier 3 and orbital relay requirement, increased the reinforcement cost a bit. So now you can get heavy assault intercessors are the Primaris units, you know, in tier 2. You still need the research, what is it called again? These, now I can't remember, missing some names, but there's a special Primaris research for the Imperial Fists, which is now available in tier 2. requires to orbital elevator. The Primaris Rubicon research now requires the orbital elevator instead of the orbital relay, so it's now in tier 2. And it takes still a hell of a lot of time to get it, so you will not get easy access to these very strong Primaris in tier 2. It's very late in tier 2, but before tier 3. Captain Tor Guard's requirement updated accordingly, so Captain Tor Garadon is still only in tier 3. So to summon them you need the Rubicon research and tier 3 instead of just the Rubicon research. Plasma pistol, power weapons and power fist costs reduced to the standard values because the economy got nerfed. There's no need for them having the higher priced upgrades. This is the same logic over here. The Imperial Fists were known to be a very strong economic faction, but it kind of still is, but it kind of was mitigated with these high priced upgrades and whatnot. All power add-ons of the siege generators now cost the standard price instead of 150 and no longer any power. You still don't get a power gift for these upgrades, which normal generators will give you, but on the flip side you do not need to have a builder to build an actually generator, so this is now is still done automatically, so the cost was not reflecting this trade-off. Like the trade-off is you do not get a gift, but you do not need to get a builder to build it. Instead it costs even more and even some power to get some power, which was still some remnant from earlier versions. All Hunter Killer missiles now have the standard range and have no costs to them. The Techmarine rework. The Techmarine for Imperial Fists were very strong. They're still very good, but they are no longer starts with the full servo harness. Instead you get it in the tier 4 research. So they get to their old self in the tier 4 research and making them a bit weaker until they get fully upgraded. Terminator variant completely removed because I think there's no lore. I think I read that there's no lore thingy for them having actually Terminators. Stats and cost adjusted, so the cost for them and the build time is now a bit lower because there are no longer these one-man armies. Fixed the main plasma cannon of the Predator cannon having a shorter range. So the main cannon had shorter range than the side sponsors, so now they have all 40. Fix the target priority for the Saber, now it goes for vehicles first. The banner barrel gets a custom standard if you go for the Crimson Fist. It's basically Crimson Fist standard for them. The Field Disciplinary Officer, this is also a good one. They were kinda they could execute your own marines and stuff like that, so they have been renamed to the Consul Obsequiari. The sniper variant has received an update to the sniper rifles, and the executability has been reworked to be used on the enemy. Any morale boosting effect has been made into an aura. They are not Astartes Commissars, but Astartes Arbeits after all, so they are now more police marines instead of commissar marines, you could say. Remastered voiceovers for the spottings, for tactical marines, assault marines, destroyers. Also voiced by your favorite YouTuber. Banner bearers and Legion Basilisk. Crimson Fist Intercessors. This is the Primaris unit for Crimson Fist. They are also now not in tier 3, but in tier 2. With the same requirements, like you remember, like the Primaris Rubicon research and whatnot, and also got a little more expensive in their reinforcement cost, and they have like 2 weapon upgrades. One of them is the Vengeance Launcher. This is a grenade launcher, I think, is now available in tier 2. The other one, I think, what is the other one? I do not remember. Is now still requires tier 3. In Crimson Fists, as we are in Crimson Fist, the Stormhawk, which is their tier 3 flyer, which they get instead of the Scorpius, has now more HP and has a new voiceover. A new unit, this is now cool. Crimson Fist, Master of the Sigil Consul, because they do not get access to these guys, I think, or to one of those guys. I'm not sure if the sniper is available for both or the other melee one is available for both. One of them is not available for the Crimson Fist, so there you have now the Master of the Sigil console available only when you have Crimson Fist enabled. Trained from the chaplains. Is the victory condition, the win condition enabled. The shotgun of the will be, yeah, okay, here there you see the shotgun guy is disabled to get this guy. Sniper stays available for both. A new unit is added, Living Saint Arabella. You might know her from the Sisters of Battle. A special variant is now available in Crimson Fist. Is a Primarch analog, is basically either you get Rogel Dawn or her. They share a cap with Rogel Dawn, you see here. And she has her own victory condition, win condition. If this is enabled, you need of course the Crimson Fist as well, and this disables her from Sisters of Battle. So, she kind of moves to different factions. She sports a different style and abilities of her Sisters of Battle counterpart. Be advised, should this victory condition, win condition be enabled, the Sisters of Battle variant of Living Saint is disabled. So she actually move over. Note to. If you fight Sisters of Battle, you can't get both versions, kind of. The icon of Unwavering Faith is now enabled by default and replaced with the Monument of the Unwavering Faith in all game modes. This new monument model, there's a new model for it. Space Marine Codex and the Crimson Fists get a more for Crimson Fist icon. Otherwise, it's the same. In addition, if this Matriarch Arabella is being enabled, will be a slightly different version as well. Its morale inspiring, stealth detection and war gear acquisition for Alexandra function remain unchanged. So the morale and stealth detection stays for all, and the war gear is of course only for the Imperial Fists. The old icon of Unwavering Faith to stay puffed is available now with a special victory condition if you really want to. All versions are now in tier 4 instead of tier 3.5. Okay. Alright, needed to do a short break, but here I'm back again. Let's start with Legion of the Damned. And Legion of the Damned, I have to say, before we go into the details, this is more of a pretty radical change to some of it, and to try to make them more viable in a 1 versus 1 scenario, especially in the tier 1. And yeah, this is more of an idea and test. This is not the final fine-tuned balance overhaul for them, but yeah, if you could now in this version please use them in 1-on-1 and share some replays so we can see how they actually perform. I will try to play them myself in a 1 versus 1 setting a bit more with these changes, and then we can fine-tune them to be at a good spot. There have been in very weird spots in the past, but I think we can do it, guys. Okay. First one sounds pretty radical already. I mean, they had a Ludicy ability that was for some reason there. This is gone, and they have their normal bike thingy where they spin around. Changed armor class to Demon Medium. They had Demon High Armor already, and thus doubled the HP and removed the production time increase from the field. So they now take a lot more damage but have more HP, and especially take better damage from the standard sources you can have. Demon Medium is still an armor class that is early in the game pretty strong, but yeah, they now can actually be killed, and you can have more of them more quickly, or let's say you can get to a higher number. Now with the production time increase, you would feel at some point that you have like 4 bikes on the field and first takes forever and something like that. That has been removed. The Legionaries increased maximum squad size from 2 to 3. They still start with 2. This means they get summoned in by 2, but you can immediately get them up to 3 in tier 1, and the additional upgrades later on also increase the squad size. So you have a higher squad size early on and later on, and a reduced pop cost from 4 to 3, so you can have more on the field as well. Increased morale region by a bit. This 1 per second isn't much, but it should help that they actually stay in shape a little bit better. So this is a direct buff to legionaries, which are currently, or which were currently or before not really viable to use in tier 1. Hopefully this makes them up for it a bit better, in the sense that you can have more in models and in squads, and that their morale stays a bit better alive, basically. The listening post add-ons now increase the HP by 500. Before, the listening post add-ons were even removing some HP and stuff, so they are now helping to keep your listening posts alive in tier 2 and tier 3 respectively. So there's another buff that the listening posts get, so they're actually more resilient later on than before. The Dreadnought Last Cannon now requires the second heavy weapon upgrade instead of the first, meaning that the Last Cannon is now in a tier later, not in tier 2 but in tier 3. The HP increased to have the 666 number that so many have, and the pop cost got reduced to 3 as well, to make more sense, if you want to say it so. The Venerable Dreadnought Last Cannon has the same as this one, so that, I mean, it gets available in tier 4, but still. It is no longer direct spawn from fire that burns the warp. Instead, a regular Dreadnought may be possessed into a Venerable Dreadnought. So this is cool. Then you need to have a Dreadnought first, and then you can click a button in tier 4 and get a Venerable Dread, which I like a lot. So there will be a new summon for him. The Hunter, this is the artillery rhino thingy, has reduced its health significantly because it was just way too tanky for an artillery piece. So it is now actually be killable, but also has a reduced pop cost. So you can in general have more vehicles on the field like this, which is nice, because before you were always like, why would I build a Hunter or a Dreadnought if I could like get a Predator for 5 pop, you know? This is now making that more viable. And the HP maluses were now more made in line, you could say, made more sense. Yeah, so for the commanders it got increased. Like the tier 1 commander is not 2.5, it's 5%. This is percentage reduction of your HQ HP, and this multiplies the fire that burns the warp, because it is such a good commander, is now 15% removal. The bikes had 3%, is now 2, because they are also a little weaker now. Both Terminators variants had 2.5% per model, are now 3%, because Terminators are really strong later on, and if you want to have more and more models, you will have to reduce, you will have less and less HP. The Hunter got increased because it was a Dreadnought, a Rhino before, then had a very low percent, now it's 10%. The Dreadnought gets reduced, so you have like your tier 2 vehicles with 10%. The Hell Knight had a 80% reduction for tier. It is a tier 2 Titan, a tier 1 Titan, I think it is, but still 80%. It's now 50%, which is still probably too much. But yeah, this can be maybe reduced in the future to, let's say, like 33% or something. But now it's still a lot better. The first LP add-ons, I think this didn't work. I think this is not true. You do not see that. Heavy bolter turret from 3% to 2.5. Minefield from 3% to 1. So the minefield had actually 3% removal and wasn't that viable. Now it's 1. And trench turret from 1.5 to 2.5. So the turrets, be it the heavy bolter or the trench turret, is now 2.5. The HP researchers had some weird values, but are now all 5%. Like the HP value researches the 3-1 for your infantry. Morale researches from 1% to 2, because morale is what keeps them alive, so it's more important, so that's why they get more. The second weapon research was only 2%, and the first one was 5%. And as some stuff has been moved to the second, it's getting more important, so that's by 5%. Detection research isn't that great in a sense, so that is only 1%, whereas the invis research, that your legionaries are invisible, is pretty good, so that's why 3% wasn't enough, so 5%. And a new unit, El Lobo, the Angel of Death, has arrived. He is summoned now. He requires a victor condition, but is then summoned from the fire that burns the warp instead of the Venerable Dread. So I'm really interested to see how these changes play out. So I'm hoping to see some replays. If not, I will try to get some games myself done as soon as I'm available. Actually, as the patch goes out, I'm on vacation, so I cannot immediately play, but I will when I return I will play, obviously. A few changes for Necrons. Here the Void Dragon, so basically the Void Dragon or the Burning one, the Crimson one, these Catan summons now last a bit longer because they cost a hell of a lot of resources, and they might still stay a little longer than 2 minutes. Honor Guard versions of Necron Warriors and mods no longer have requirements for their weapons. This is a campaign change. Massive visual effects rework. You have seen some stuff. This is now done, basically. Fix the new eye bug with the Canoptic Spider harvest summons. Yeah, there was some summon issues that the Canoptic Spider would summon the right units, but the icons wouldn't line up. This is now fixed. Xun Pakir's Carnal Lich Guard now have an orange FX, FX is like an effect, and warp sizes to fit with the theme of the dynasty, so they have basically look now cooler or more fitting. So this is all for Necrons. Now we come to Night Lords. The Night Lords is quite a lot, because yeah, there was some stuff that could be improved more thematically, you could say. The Sikaran Kratos now has the correct size, fixed an issue with the Cyclops that wasn't dealing the damage. Talos aka Decimus now have a gadget ability, Explosive Jail. Yeah, it's like Arkham games. In addition, a new VO. The Nightlord Predator now upgrades with the Executioner and uses the add-on system, so he has more options here. The Dreadnought Plasma Cannon upgrade from tier 4 to tier 3. Obliterators now infiltrate when in cover. This was like the only unit. I mean, the Obliterators were a unit added relatively late, so that got missed. Fury's reinforcement cost reduced. They still cost the same, but are cheaper now. I mean, the Furies were very good, then they got nerfed, and then nobody used them, so this is now a small way to see if this will incentivize people to use them more. The Terrify Research, this is an ability from the Captain, question mark, is from tier 4 to tier 3, the same for Shadow of Nostro from tier 4 to tier 3, so that you get the abilities a bit earlier, because in tier 4, yes, you have commanders and stuff, but in tier 4 you have a lot of things to do, and these spells and abilities were not that impactful that they need to wait for tier 4. This one is for the Night Sisters, is a change that will need some testing of you guys if it's too strong. The Night Sisters had the issue that they were like horrors, but only available in tier 2, and with the Sacred Artifact, quote unquote, requirement, and then they were cheaper but not dealing enough damage, so that's now they have now a special use case, in the sense that their bolters fire blackout range, which causes 6 morale damage per shot and a chance to disable enemy detection. So this is really cool. They now have this utility cost, role kind of, and the training cost is not increased in requisition, only in power, and also their reinforcement now costs power. So now the question is for you guys, if the 6 morale damage and this chance to disable the squad detection is too strong. I want to see some games and want to see if they are good like this or not. If they need to be more expensive, or if the chance needs to be reduced or increased, stuff like that. Razorbacks have now a limit of 3, like earlier. Sorcerer changed to a more Nightlord friendly Dream Eater. Wow. Reworked all his spells into entirely new ones which fit the dream manipulation aspect. The Sorcerer resources has been updated accordingly. So similar to the Death Guard, no, what was it? Not the Death Guard. In some other factions the Sorcerers got their spells changed. Fallen Angels, so this is now also more of a lore aspect change, and yeah, some new abilities. If the Havoc Missile Launcher is equipped, gains a new ability. I think the who is it? It doesn't state. Blackout Missile, which can stun enemy vehicles. Is it a sorcerer? No idea. The Nightlord Hellblade gains invisibility only when idle, while the Hell Talon is granted Stormburge ability. Both require the Nightfall Protocol. The Nightfall Protocol is an upgrade of tier 3 or tier 4 even. Nightlock Havoc's weapons now require Black Sanctuary, so they have now the armory requirement. Fixed allied infantry not receiving buffs and Furies died. This is now, as it was intended, the case. And Possessed Marine dies, buffs the same way as Furies, because I think the law is that the Night Lords hate demons. So the Possessed is half demon basically, so they, haha, you died, and then they get some buffs. Rework the Terror of the Night Research into Seeds of Terror. Upon completion, certain abilities gets upgraded. Move to Eclipse Portal. Blind Panic becomes Nightmare Pandemonium. So the Blind Panic is an ability which you get from your quote-unquote champion or sergeant. The morale debuff is applied like before, but heightened, more morale damage. Effective enemy troops can jump and have slight reduction in movement speed, so they are kind of snared. In addition, a model in the target squad has a chance to explode as they grip and short circuits. Now that is nice. I hope this is if this works also on Terminator like units, this is gonna be fun. Swift Strike becomes Sadistic Assault. I think the Blind Panic was for Horrors and the Swift Strike were for Raptors. Sadistic Assault doubles the benefits it provides, plus when in melee returns the user some morale and health. Nice. Stealth Drives grant the damage buff and stealth, and there are Stealth Drives for the flyers, I think. Remove the negative consequences Swift Strike in exchange for lesser buffs. So the Swift Strike had also some debuffs, these are now removed. Fixed the Fear Gas granting enemy defensive buffs. The Fear Gas is meant to have a debuff on the opponent, not the standard smoke bomb buffs. Nightmare Grenade now has a knockdown, same as Frag Grenade. So this is going to be interesting if it's too strong, because the Nightmare Grenade already reduces the sight range and everything. If it now has also a knockdown effect, this may be too strong, please check. And yeah, if this is like these bigger changes like we have for Legion of the Damned, and this is yeah, are cool and everything, and I think this is the right way. But sometimes yeah, as usual, we the team looks at all the feedback you guys provide. Even if the team doesn't answer to everything is they read everything basically, me included, and then they it come into play or not. Fix the bug with the Night Possession missing Synth Death animation. Okay, so this is Night Lords. You see some ability changes, some lore changes, and stuff like that. For Orks, fix the bug where the Buster, this is Wasboom Blaster Jet was, the teleport was disabled, is now back again. Stomper costs increased because this is the relic unit most people prefer over the Squiggers, so it should cost also more. This is, I think, even cheaper than the Squiggers, or differently aligned, so it's now more expensive because it's quote-unquote better. The Air Tower can now garrison troops. Nice, its requirements been updated, so that is the pile of guns or the boys hut. So this is now the same requirements as the mech shop, instead of just pile of guns. So you can now get also the air tower the same way you can get the mech shop. So you could go for only the boys hut, then build a whole bunch of banners to immediately get to the air tower. So foregoing the pile of guns completely and going for faster vehicles. Knobs for Slugger, Shooters and Knob Squad no longer require a boys hut. This was a change to have them basically all the same requirements, but there was or is a good opener where you only go like sluggers into pile of guns and then have a lot of sluggers with their knobs. So this is now available again. New remastered voiceover for the Battle Fortress. The artillery platform is named the Big Cannon platform. Captain Shack has a point. No idea who is that from. Okay, this is Orks. Now we come to the Praetorian Guard. Removed all. Yeah, this is a big one. There was the tank aces were reported to be too strong, and I couldn't pinpoint what the actually issue was, but they have had auras which, I don't know, increased damage of units around, increased reduced damage taken from units around, stuff like that. Especially the the damage buff was substantial, so they which also applied to themselves. So the damage values they had on the weapons wasn't the issue, but they had an aura which increased their damage value. So this is now gone. This is basically the main nerf to them. They should now perform as intended. They are still very expensive, but available in tier 3, but no longer have these over-the-top auras except of a morale buff around them. The bombs Kriegs have a bit more HP, so you can use them actually as detector, not only as suicide squads. Increase the reinforcement cost of the regulars, because the regulars are pretty strong and they are a bit too cheap for what they are. Blood X have more HP, making them more viable in HP, especially in melee, especially in later tiers like tier 2 engagements. The Orc Battle Wagon now requires a relic, basically the super heavy definition as we had for some other units earlier, like for the Harlequin Vampire Raider thingy. Grot tanks no longer require vehicle forge to be built. You might think this is too strong, or this is some weird thing. Hear me. The idea is the Grot tanks before needed the vehicle forge, so you got the Orc encampment, and then in tier 2 you get the vehicle forge to build vehicles from your Orc encampment. But when you get the vehicle forge, you would usually go for chimeras and sentinels or whatever you get from the vehicle forge, and not the Grot tanks. So the Grot tanks now have this niche thing which some vehicles have, that you can get them immediately when in tier 2. Tau have something, for example the Piranha, you can get in tier 2 without getting the vehicle production building. Or I think Salamanders and Imperial Fist Rapier Destroyer thingies, these slow moving stuff, it's also something you get in tier 2 without getting the vehicle building. So there's some case to this. Soldier Mess Hall now increases the infantry cap by 2. And of course the add-ons as well. So you only need now 1 soldier mass instead of 2 to get the full cap of 2020, which I really like. The mortar emplacement has been moved to tier 2. I think it was tier 3 before. The bombard add-on is in tier 3. Yeah, because like it was, you would need to build a mortar and then get the add-on both in tier 3, which was kind of missing the point. I think now it's tier 2. And you can upgrade it to be stronger in tier 3. Listening post cost increased. Yeah, they were very cheap for no particular reason, so they are now have the standard cost for the Imperial Guard kind of faction, so the economy boom isn't as easily done for them. Especially, you still can get pretty good economy, especially since their listening post upgrades aren't that expensive, so you now have to pay in the beginning more, which is, I think, okay. The Orc Bunker is very strong turret, has now still has more range than the standard turret, but not as much, and also damage got reduced. This is one step to find a good spot for it. Vehicle pop. The vehicle building now provides 4 instead of 2 vehicle pop, and the munition store now provides also 4 instead of 5. So the idea is that you get the vehicle forge and 4 munition stores to get to the 20, or get 2 of the vehicle forges and 3 of the munition stores to get to the maximum. It is still the same, but you are not as inclined to build as much munition stores. So you can even with just a vehicle forge get some units out. There is the mechanic that munition stores increase the maximum special weapon count of irregulars. So this is now also true for grenadiers and aerial commanders. They get more special weapon squads with more munition stores, but their initial heavy weapon count got decreased from 3 to 2 and from 4 to 3 initially. So with 1 munition store you get as much as before, with 2 munition store you get more special weapons. Chimera Twinning Gatling Cannon upgrade now requires the munition stores, because the Gatling Cannon with the suppression is pretty strong. Now you actually need to get an additional building for that. Sentinel and Auto Cannon also requires the munition stores. You could get it before just like that, now you have, like, I think the flamer you can get initially without a munition store, but for the autocannons you need a munition store. Some visual changes for the plug egg mercs now get the chain choppers instead of the regular chopper. A lot of guys like that change. The Valkyrie airstrike has been reworked into a Carine slam bomb. This is also, I think, more visually. Scout Major now looks more like scene being okay. Praetorian Guard. Now we come to Renegade Guard, and you see the Renegade Guard is quite a lot. I haven't followed all these changes in detail, so let's go through them and see what it is. It's the medic, as we have for Imperial Guard, is now commander, has less health, probably a buff to them. Reaction Inferno gun max range, so the Inferno now shoots a bit longer. Renegade Magister, the Warlord's presence ability, the ability that makes units unbreakable around him, I think, has now a shorter cooldown, and the AoE is increased, so it affects more troops. This 20 AoE was pretty low indeed, and this allows your tier 1 units to be more effective. The Black Guard bodyguards, base damage increased. Okay, pretty good as well, and morale damage per shot. And this is the guys with the plasma guns. And the Bloody-Handed Reaver, this is kinda your champion guy, is now in tier 1, only requires a Tactica, similar to the Black Guard. It's got engagement range, so it performs better. Reaction Volitionary Volunteers, last gun min damage increased from 4 to 5, and reinforcement cost reduced. The reaction militia are very squishy, and now they are very cheap, they reflect more what they cost. The Dark Maker's Corrupted Machine Spirits ability should now show up all times, so this was a little bug fix. It is a target ability that causes enemy vehicle to go berserk and attack its own owners for the short duration. Okay, so it's not a stun, it's actually a go mad ability, which I really like, because the Dark Makers is a tier 2 unit instead of the tier 1.5 for the equivalent Imperial Guard. Direction Sentinel. Flamer cost reduced, less cannon range increased, multi-laser damage increased. So it's more these both the second and third one is similar to the IG Sentinel, and the Flamer seems to be more affordable now. Fix the bug with the tech gun Lehman Rust being accident vehicle met instead of vehicle high. I was inclined to look up if all Lehman Rusts are vehicle high, or if just special Lehman Rusts are vehicle high, like the Tekan Lehman Rust, for example, or the Death Grove Krieg Commissariat Lehman Rust. I haven't checked yet, so this is some consistency thing I want to check. Rexion, but yeah, this is now vehicle high. Rexion Heavy Weapon Team Heavy Bolter AP versus vehicles reduced. So the Heavy Bolter from the standard Heavy Weapon teams performs less as an anti-vehicle role, which is good. Similar Hellhound change as we have seen for IG and Steel Legion, so it's more good, better than against monsters now, against demons basically. Night Last Impulsor range we have also seen in other factions. The fortified bunkers reaches time reduced. In addition, allows all Tyranids to slowly auto repair. So this I haven't seen, and this is nice. Mad Butchers Rex Okran Bone S, the big guy, can now receive the corresponding mark blessings because currently it could not. The satellite targeting resolution research damage boost now affects Tekan Ashiko. Okay. Autocannons as intended. A similar buff to direction autogun is now granted with the Tekan Warrior last gun. Additionally, the sight increase range now affects Ashigaru Heavy Stubber, Plasma Cannon, Missile Launcher similar to Militia Sniper. So there was some stuff that some of the satellite targeting resolution was not applying buff to certain weapons. This is now fixed. Rexner in Mechanized Command cost increased. It actually states in the UCS that it is more expensive because you already have not the add-on system, but it was the same cost as the usual Mechanized Command, so this is now an increased cost. Direction Chimera reduced the cost of the autocannons because the autocannons were absolutely high, and autocannon is behind the initial heavy bolter, so that's why this is cheaper. Same for the quad autocannon for the camera. This is not for the camera, right? And okay, you can get it, but only with Mark of Corn or something like that. So yeah, there was some weapons that were really expensive and needed heavy bolter before, so this is to make up for it. The Bloodpact Escudo removed the individual cap and now has a cap, shares a cap of 3 of the Chimera, so we have the good old Chimera balance over here. The training cost got reduced and reduced the cost of the autocannons as well. So the Bloodpact Escudo is a tier 3 unit you can get if you chose Mark of Corn. You can summon it in from the Tactica control, Rexstream Tactica, and as Chimeras are generally, or Testudos a tier 2 unit, this is now a bit cheaper, and yeah, you can get more of it. Rex Malcador reduced the cost of the Vanquisher cannon because look at the cost, reduced the cost of the Demolisher cannon. There were really high weapon costs, and this is now, I think, better. Remove the cost of the Rage Inducer Xaphan's Wrath ability to go online similar abilities in the mod. This is a special win condition building, and it has had a pretty high power cost for its ability, which is now not anymore. Forge Fiend's cost increased because this is a relic kind of unit which was a bit too cheap. Reaction Bane Sword no longer requires the Renegade Tactica. This was a weird requirement on the Super Heavy. This is now not a course anymore. Kumuchi Cannon Max Range. This is a cannon which can summon in from... Oh, I forgot from whom it can be summoned in, but there's some building, I think, or a unit that can summon in this Kamishima Cannon, which has now more of artillery roll with its range. Fix the bug with the champion upgrade resource not upgrading the target leaders properly. Now this is fixed. Ballista Maidens have some nerfs. They were already nerfed, but they have some more nerfs. Overall damage reduced, increased setup time, increased reload time, and infantry pop used to 3 instead of 2. So they are now more of a like the 3 pop is for how they call it again, Havocs and stuff like that. Tank Busters other way around, very small squad with niche uses now only cost 2 instead of 3. Sekiro, this is the commander HP increased and to be in line with other assassins, slight damage buffs versus air to the Striker Sentinel missiles because it is an anti-air role. This is the Sentinel of the Tekan. Sudden Chimeras now carries 2 instead of 3, which is good. So it's more of standard Chimera now. Divine Impact no longer costs resource to be cast. Yes, wishing is for free. Militia Rangers Plasma Cannons move from tier 4 to tier 3. So the Militia Rangers, these are the very first unit you can get. They got a weapon in tier 2 and now can get Plasma Cannons in tier 3 instead of tier 4 because nobody builds these Rangers in tier 4. The King Oni should display the Iron Shield now. Probably it had an Iron Shield, but it was not visible. Tekan Dawn Tank. The thing is with the Tekan, they can get quite a lot of tier 4 vehicles, including the Dawn Tank, which now needs a critical location to get, so it's more of a special tank requirements to it. The Shogun Executioner has the Battle Titan ability. This is the thing that lets you move through other units. Caldaris, aka Xaphan, now can detect and also applies for the spawn version. In addition, the mass production research upgrades him with a neo-work-type pistol. In campaign, the Honor Guard version receives this upgrade from the Kuji Commission field supply research as well. Kochi Sara and Yamato Alice got a facelift. There you go. The Sara Dorko now have a more accurate helmet and can also now jump in the last stand like skirmish. Okay. The remastered voiceover for the Rex and Renegade Psycho, very nice. And the Tekan's new unit, the Dark Skitari. Tekan is the true dark mech. I haven't tried them, but I have seen how they look. This is This is really awesome. This is one of my favorite new units in the patch, I gotta say. Looking forward to play them a bit. Okay, this is Renegade Guard done. Now we jump over to the Raven Guard. The tier 4 got renamed the War Deployment Priority Primaris to better reflect as attack instead of the Shadow Walk, which sounds more like an ability unlock. Fixed an issue with the Shadowhawk not being able to land. It can now. The cloaking field ability is now exclusive to the Shadowhawk. Previously this had also one of the two other flyers, or even two. Both of the other flyers, they are now not having it. It's exclusively due to Shadowhawk now. Apothecary squad leader cost changed. Now they cost less rec and a bit of power. Same you see later for the Deliverers Apothecary. This is more a Terminator Apothecary, but still doesn't need. Was a bit too cheap. This was too expensive. This is now better. Sternguard veterans and Vanguard veterans now require, additionally to tier 2, either the Deliverance Guild or the Keyworth Forge. Basically the Sacred Artifact or the Machine Pit. So they are not immediately available in tier 2. They have an additional requirement which should make it more balanced, because these Sternguard veterans in tier 2 are very strong. The Stormwalk Interceptor now has more HP because it doesn't have the invisibility anymore. The Damocles is now limited to 1 because it has some passive buff to either vehicles or units around, and you could have more than 1 and it stacks maybe, I don't know. This is now limited to 1. This is more of a special unit. I think all Damocles from different factions only have a limit of 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it was way too squishy, so it's now 700, still very squishy, but not as much as before. Shadow Spire Assault Cannon Turret add-on. The turret add-on had an assault cannon which was in tier 3, is now in tier 2. Cost adjustment for the Hunt researchers. The Hunt researchers were never really used, so that's why they are now cheaper. They cost 50, 50, 75, 75 and 100, 100, and so also the sprint. The sprint is already available and can get better with the upgrade. So it's now 75, 75 and 100, 100. For the tier, the level 2 is in tier 2 and the level 3 is in tier 3. So there you go. For this is level, because it's available right now, this is a tier 2 and this is a tier 3 research. The mode Dazed Hound is a permanently invis sniper squad upgrade raised from 3 to 4. Is they now also affected by the heavy weapon cage, heavy weapon increase. Dreadnought weapon upgrades are now all presented in the UI. There were a bug where only like 1 or 2 weapons were showing. This is now fixed. The sniper rifle for more Dazed Hound is now visually more appropriate. The sniper rifle for the Primaris Eliminators is now a last fusel, complete with a new model. Weapon stats reworked accordingly. The Hunt ability probably is renamed to the Chameleon Lion Cloak, so that's more lore friendly. So some balance, some visual and lore stuff, which I like. Salamanders. This Sicaran has now the proper sizes and training time reduced a bit. Redeemer Assault Cannon now has proper reload time, so there was a little buff. Sicaran Venator no longer prioritizes infantry, also good. Fixed some issue with the Sicaran Heavy Bolter firing Orks, also good. Primaris Inferno Pyroblaster raw damage reduced by 50%. New model for the Pyroblaster. So they were dealing way too much damage against everything. It wasn't really an issue about the penetrations to certain targets, it was just overall too much. So this has been fixed or adjusted. Fixed the bug with the Salamander Land Raider not being able to carry all the infantry types. Also nice smoke launchers and vehicle extra armor moved to the forge, because the forge was too the vehicle production building was full once you got the Land Raider Commander upgrade. So this is now the smoke launchers and vehicle armor are now in the armory where there's more space. Scout maximum cap increased from 4 to 5, and now can upgrade it with Heirloom Bolt Sniper Rifle and Sect of Recreant Sniper Rifle, purely cosmetic. Order of the Archon Shroud no longer requires the forge. This is now also an idea, because currently all the tier 2 infantry from the... Oh, what is the name for it? The furnace? Like the it's not the furnace, I think from the barracks basically require you also to get the forge. So without a forge in tier 2 the barracks doesn't provide you anything new. So this is now an idea to get these ladies out without getting the forge. So you could get a more rushy tier 2 you could think of to get these ladies out and get the forge later. Venerable Veteran no longer requires a relic, as it's true for around the map. The mod Deathwatch Rain Fire has no cost anymore, which is also something you see quite a lot, that the cost removed for some abilities. Remove the fire cost from the Hunter Killer Missile. Scout Devastator Sergeant was a bit too pricey. It has no special abilities or weapons to it, it's just a Sergeant, so that's why it's standard Sergeant cost. The Uneasy Alliance 2 Shan ability now requires the and win condition. The tier 4 dude you can get from these salamander that have these really dragon faces. I have forgot the name. The commander could summon demons. Now it requires the Felinid victory condition, so maybe there's some change in the visuals over there. You find it out for yourself. The Primaris Eradicators now have a small setup time. This is important because the Eradicators are these they have these melters and stuff, so they get really strong in killing buildings and vehicles, especially if they could fire on the move. This basically now needs them to stay still, which has two implications. A, they cannot fire on the move. B, they can be more easily tied down in melee, preventing their really high damage from going through. The Artificer Armor's research no longer increases the build cost of the squad. This is the tier 3 relic Artificer Armor research. There's also a tier 3 relic Targetos, which not increase the cost, but this did, so this is now removed. The Storm Raven has been moved to the Vault of Remembrance, okay. Because it also a space issue in the vehicle production building. You will see in a second why. As there's no actual problem with the gravity of Nocturne, they can train more pilots. Thus, the cap of the land speeders got increased from 2 to the standard 10, and also the cap for assault marines got removed. So the assault marines are already pretty strong. Now you can get more if you really want to spam them. Normally, you do not want to get more than 2. The heavy flamer turret is now part of the regular, so corresponding Victory Edition has been retired. Similar to the Dark Angels, the Salamanders now have proper turrets enabled in any time. And a new unit, the Voss Pattern Lightning Strike Fighter. So an actually aircraft for the Salamanders in tier 2 counts as a new flying unit for the Salamanders. This is also because the gravity of Nocturne was not the issue, so now they can actually get flyers. Salamanders out of the way. Now quickly jump over to Sisters of Battle. This is not a lot, but really nice. Look at the first one. Repentiers are now affected by the Missionaries' Act of Faith. Previously they could get the Missionary and could get the Act of Faith, but it would do nothing. Now they have a melee version of their special units, the Eviscerators. Except attaching command exclusion mission was planned to be added, but Iron Law never finished. Their mistress also is affected by this, so they get now the Emperor's Touch basically. Is it that or the Emperor's? One of these names, Act of Faith, that exchanges actually weapons for like Sisters of Battle to some special weapons for a short amount of time, firing these holy rounds basically. And yeah, the Rependiers do not have a ranged attack, so this was just wasted on them. Now they get a special melee weapon. The twin Flamer pistols and twin Inferno pistols upgrades for the Seraphim has been enabled in skirmish, stats adjusted accordingly. Also a thing, Seraphims are already strong. Test it out and give some feedback if they are now too strong or if this is just cool to have. DCA 0 got buffed in health and armor type changed to infantry, high to commander, now part of the hero UI. Mikhail Bombardment buffed. There you go. This was it. Now immediately moving over to Space Marines. Land Raider Helios now performs better in the engagement and weapon range. Land Raider Anvilarum engagement range. Also, this engagement range, is, as far as I understand, is the range on which the vehicle will fire on its own without being targeted. Land Raider Terminus Ultra has more HP because it's like a super heavy, I think. Extra armor output enabled. All Terminus Ultra less cannons now have 50 range because I think there was some had different ranges on it. The Space Marine Baal Predator add-on, like the Assault Cannon add-on, is similar to the Blood Angels in the beginning. Now have normalized damage because it was like, I think, too low. And damage increased by 50% and minor suppression. So this was way too weak. Now it's actually option. Razorback Ricarius Assault Cannon has received damage boost. Max building limit increased from 2 to 3. Like the Razorbacks we had discussed earlier on, meant to have a limit of 3. In campaign, the Apothecary, Special Apothecary Galan HP got doubled. Primaris Intercessors squad cap from 1 to 2. Also, you have seen these kind of increased Primaris in some other factions before. The Grey Knight Justicar Honor Guarding campaign. Squad members min increased from 1 to 3. Squad member max. Okay. These have now more models. Force Commander Melda Walkie replaced with a more appropriate Infernibus. Likewise, the first upgrade from Rogel's Fist has been replaced with the original upgrade from Dark Crusade, Alexian's Blade. Model properly updated. This is done in a more fitting, and Rogel's Fist weapon is properly used by the Imperial Fist Siege Captain. Lastly, the Artificer armor is renamed. Should I try to pronounce it? Azaria Kiras Cincture. But this is now has a cool name now for your lore lads. The Rye Reinforcement Land Raider is now Legio Custodes Venerable Land Raider. There you go. Additional the tactical status. Now Hikanotoi Custodian Guard and the Venatari Custodes have been received new and appropriate voiceovers. Here, Custodes. I hope you are happy because that will be the last Custodes you're getting. Ghost of Damocles Victory Condition. Lady Solaria of House Warlock joins her allies once again as an alternative tier 1 Titan if you have the victory condition enabled. The Venerable Dreadnought is now properly named Davian Thule, as it was apparently and always it was planned him. Added a special win condition that the heroes of Aurelian Sector that allows campaign honor guard heroes to build through Chapter Master Gabriel Angelos. Galen is not included, but yeah, this is cool to have some special commanders in your skirmish plays, especially in PvE and team games. This can be cool. This is the Space Marines. Now over to the Steel Legion. Legionary and Stormtrooper grenade launchers now have a minimum range and a higher minimum range, so basically they cannot be fired in a short duration and distance and cost more power. So this is basically a nerf to the very strong grenade launchers. The box officer is now affected by the Akashima Starling Protocol research. Medic armor changed to commander and less health. The Terry the Psyker now has commander armor instead of demon high, so it's more of a commander now. Canonus Errant Seteno sorry, can now be attached to squad, which is nice. Veteran Legionaries now can use frag grenade, which is nice. Commissar Execute buff nerfed because it was too strong. Same fix with the Cyclops not dealing enough damage. The Lieutenant Colonel HP reduced, so he no longer has as much as HP as a Chaos Lord and costs a bit more because it was too cheap and too tanky. Fortified Bunker, this is the second bunker upgrade, now costs as much as the first one. Fixed the bug with the AP of the Sentinel Multilaser, so this is now fixed. Trojans can carry all infantry type. Manticore max speed is not the same as Basilisk. The Survival Lehman Russ Annihilator General Pants and okay, increased, so this is now better. All Lehman Russ detection range when a commissar is guaranteed increased to 30, which is like normal. Sentinel speed increased to an intended value. It was kind of a slow Sentinel. This is now more of a normal Sentinel. The improved Lehman Russ tank armor research returns because it was, I think, disabled because too many icons or something. So this is now back up. Armageddon pattern saber turret emplacement. You can only now get 2 per HQ. Normally this kind of stuff is 1 per HQ but this is as it is kind of a flak, not as high in damage, but you can get 2. Reload time decreased to make it more like a flak. Flak is a German abbreviation for Flugabwehrkanone, so some guys know, some do not. Fix the bug with the Tarantul turret aiming. I think it couldn't aim down or up or something with the angles. Now it can. Hellhound health reduced. Health upgrade remains unchanged. It still gets more changed with the upgrade. Inferno cannon morale damage reduced and the max speed reduced. It is still a bit faster than a regular Hellhound, but the thing is, the Hellhound is the only available anti-vehicle in tier 2 with the Devil Dog upgrade. This is also why the Devil Dog upgrade for the Steel Legion stays in tier 2, whereas for Imperial Guard is in tier 3 now. So the Hellhound has for Steel Legion more of the role of the anti-vehicle in tier 2. The Thunder Siege Shell has reworked completely. Now fires a big siege rocket, deals massive damage and AoE, can be targeted anywhere in the map within range, made available only to the tank company. Thunderer is an unit that is available for both companies. Now this ability is only available for the tank company, which I find cool. Sorry, because a lot of abilities and new units were added to the infantry company. Now you have something that is for the tank company. The Thermoplasma generator has received new animations, which is nice. A new variant of survival Wrath Riders. I have shown it in the Steel Legion guide. The Orc Hunter Lokapala Lancers. They are more or less the same but look cooler. The Armageddon nuclear reactor is now only called nuclear reactor and has complete model overhaul. Try it. Try to destroy it. This is the tier 1 Titan unlock, as well as getting some resources from it. A new unit added for the tank doctrine, the tankless recovery tank. It's a tier 4 Lehman Russ Trojan. Can be deep strike from the airstrip and is more sturdy from the Trojan but more expensive. Can only build one chassis cab with Trojans. New unit added to the Armor's Fist, the Royal Panzer Grenadier Honor Guard, summoned from Lord Sebastian Jarek. So tier 3 infantry. Armored Fist. This is the infantry doctrine. So the infantry doctrine gets even better in tier 3 now. I have to try this out. I haven't tried it yet. There's an update for your Tau lovers over here. The Vespids gain 3 new weapon upgrades. New drone grenade launchers, plasma guns and rail rifles. Crude carnivore squads likewise get the twin-linked crude cannon weapon upgrades. These weapons require a new research called Expanded Auxiliary Weapon Cage, which is locked behind a pulse rifle upgrade. This research also increases the default damage of crude carnivore rifles and allows Square Vesa squads to be equipped with heavy gun drones. So there you go. So your auxiliary guys, this is now giving them a actually ranged option. Here's something that was pitched by me to make a mix build more, not only pitched by me, but it's always a team, but the final thing you see here is something I have proposed and then we agreed on it. A barracks build reduces the price of an auxiliary center by 50. It's only once. And the barrack build reduces the build time of the auxiliary center by 10 seconds. Now the auxiliary center is the same cost, the same initial cost and same initial build time as a barracks, but can be reduced if you have a barracks. An auxiliary center does the same to the Tau barracks, only once. So once you got an auxiliary center and want to add some Tau later on, some firewalls actually, now you can get a barracks for only 100 requisition. So this should help by that. Guerza squads now accept leaders and have no cap of 5 anymore. Commander Lacoma Iron Cannon AP reworked. Hazard suits have been resized to be a bit taller because they, otherwise are a bit taller. The Crisis, the Campaign Crisis Guard squad renamed. Iridium Battlesuit Honor Guard, interesting. The Veteran Broadside Battlesuit also renamed. With the Psyops resort thing now, the Guerza can be now upgraded with bowcasters to shoot armor-rupting objects. And they can also summon a Guerza Assassin from the, if you give the Guerza V, basically the squad leader. New unit, Contingency Battlesuit, an artillery-like cyborg battlesuit infantry, available only for Carrion Pass, and a new unit, the Squads, available for the Tau Auxiliary in the current path. This is a cool unit, I tried it out. This is placed a bit like StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1 Space Marines, having also like a stim ability. Really cool. Try it out, please. Now to 1000 Suns. So the second one, not all people will like. All warp spawns melee AP building med and high has been reduced, so the barrack and HU killing ability from these spawns has been reduced. Thrall Wizards capping speed reduced to be an analog with the Sea Legion Pioneers. So the idea is, currently, for 1000 Suns, there's no real use case except for like a very niche case for cultists, as Thrall Wizards are just as good. They cap as fast as cultists, so why even get cultists? Now these Thrall Wizards are still very good. They can still build by just clicking on it. They have abilities later on. They can still cap all that jazz, but they cap a bit slower because like the Legion, the Pioneers can also cap, but they cap slow. So there's always the case to get at least one Legionary to increase your capping. So and here's now a pitch, an idea for the 1000 Suns that you now would maybe not add all 3 Thrall Wizards right away, and or get at least one cultist before your Source Lord and stuff like that to get your capping going and stuff like that. So yeah, the capping and eco game for the 1000 Suns was a bit too fast, so this is now a bit slower. The Prosperator build time is a bit lower, but also a bit higher than other unit that I forgot what it was that was adjusted, but this is now 10 seconds more because it is very mobile. The Flamers of Siege have increased range because the Flamers had an issue that they were not being usable as much, as when they started to fire, the enemy were already kinda in melee range, preventing them from using the range attack. Silver Tower main ranged weapon increased, reload time decreased, melee buffed 3 times of the original, so the Silver Tower now actually can fight in melee and has longer range also. Blue Scribe spells reworked and the HP reduced to 1k each. The Blue Scribe spell, how they behaved was kind of weird. The spells they chose were kind of weird, and they also had some very weak spells early on to be replaced later with only, so basically you had a set of spells, and then at some point these set of spells got a bit shifted, so some spells stayed and some got replaced. And now it is you have a set of, I forgot, like 6 or 7 I think, and then you get with the second twin you get additionally better spells, but you can also get the original spells, and the rotation speed has been increased quite a lot. Before it was like 90 seconds or something. Now it's 30 seconds, I think. Don't quote me that. I would need to look up. Heavy bolter pillars. These turrets you would never see. Can be built now outside of the control area. Reduce the cost to more okay cost, and the HP is more also better now. So these bolter pillars are now actually usable. Remove the cost increase from mutated squad and mutated also from the infernal mutations. Also a thing you can see in many things, that the increased production cost of some researchers are now removed because they were used throughout the mod a bit too much. Rework the weapon of the conjured demonic entity, like I called it also the demon turret. For both versions it can summon, to be more of a listening post, because it was way too low. Now the damage, increase the damage by 50% and the max range also a bit, because it was like sometimes you brought it up and you thought it would be in range, but then yeah, it wouldn't shoot. Decrease the reload also. It shoots now faster, has more damage and more range, because now you can actually use it. I tried it and it feels good to use now. The Sorcerer Lord has been renamed to Assaulted Sorcerer. Survival Rubric Dreadnought and Rubric Chosen Rubric Marines switch tiers. Before it was like Chosen in tier 2 and Rubric Dreadnought in tier 3. Now this has changed. Chosen Rubric Marines can be upgraded with Warp Flamers. Segment Cabal Terminators now can be upgraded with Hellfire Missile Racks. Acts as an analog to Cyclone Missile Launcher from the Loyalist Terminators. And a new custom Autogun medal for the Cultists. So this is, yeah, some nerfs to the early game economy, but also some buffs to the summoners stuff, like the turret actually useful. Yeah, it's a mix. Some nerfs, some buffs, because the Saracens I think are in a good squad, but some stuff were standing out. So this has hopefully now being hopefully they are now in a bit better squad. 13th Company. Probably fix the AP of the Stormclaw bikes chainswords using Manila. So the bikes now can actually use their melee pretty well. Added a resource decay to the Hall of Knowledge and Wolf Den. So these are now more like standard listening posts, that they actually have decayable resources. Even Russ Frostmourne, Gabriel calls it sort of, but it actually works like Frostmourne now. Also his Storm Bolter range increased to 30, because yeah, a bolter only less than 30 is kind of interesting. Cyclone Missile Launchers buffed against buildings and aircraft. Snowstorm nerfed. The Grey Slayers, as they have only like 3 models in the beginning, having them a pop cost of 3 and with only a starting pop of 6, this was a bit too much. So they now have 2. So you now can get 3 Grey Slayers without an upgrade. Is it 3? Or do you start with 9? You start with 9, so you can get now more Grey Slayers even. But they are more expensive and cost more to reinforce, because they are outperforming a lot of Marines, and now their cost reflects as well. Reduce the pop cost of the Wolves as well, as it is a very niche squad, so having a lower pop cost makes sense. Iron Priests, which the bane of some players in the Invitational, they are now a bit more squishy and move a bit slower. I think literally these are in units, like 1 unit, or like standard is like 20 units or something. They now move a bit slower, so they can now be caught more easily and have a harder time just hitting the scavenge and run away. The turrets no longer count as buildings needed for the annihilation win condition. This is for some factions there was some missing stuff like this. The Chaos Gate has been remade into more loyalist, named the Commanderate Warp Gate. It has received a new model and less chaos effects. Democracy has been upheld. So there was a poll, a question for you guys, and you have chosen the less KOC thing. Accordingly, the rest of the buildable structures now have summoning from the Void style building animations to fit the warp theme of the 13th Company, using more neutral Void summoning. Wolfden no longer uses a drop pod but creates a portal. Visually wise, the buildings keep their Imperial style. So the summoning is, yeah, it now fits more of the void stuff. Visually pleasing. Tyranids. There's also some stuff for Tyranids. Poof. Let's see. The reclamation pool no longer counts as ground building for annihilation, similarly to the turrets here. Stuff that was. I mean, they can produce a unit, but will you win a game with a Ripper Swarm? I doubt it. Influence costs of the Tier 2 HQ add-on reduced a bit, as it now also costs requisition. The Dragon Warren is now the Tier 4 unlock instead of the Capillary Tower. It now costs also more and increase the build time. So this is now an actually Tier 4 unlock building. Change the armor class to building high. And the Capillary Tower no longer acts like a Tier 4 unlock structure, more like a kinda Titan tier unlock structure, but there is no like Titan tier coding for them. But yeah, this Capillary Tower is more like now an enabler for the Titan DF. Affection now acts as a resource boost, as it's also a resource boost for influence. Army buff and enemy debuffing building. It requires the Trigon variant, so it's tier 4, and then this unit, then this stuff. The requisition cost has been removed, as this is now over here, and the influence cost is now 75. Increased build time also a bit. Change armor class to high. So these take now longer to be built. And this is cheaper for that, and this is because it's now the tier 4. The old Eid one no longer requires the Capillary Tower but the Trigon Warren. Reduce the Trigon build cost. The Trigon was pretty expensive because you can get it from the Trigon Warren, which did not cost any requisition, so this is now a bit cheaper to make up for it. The global ability What The has been moved from tier 2 to tier 3, and Jones' acting strategy. This is I think the vehicle stun or thingy or explosion thingy, whatever. This is now tier 3, and the Jones' acting strategy is like the guy you could explode in a model in a squad, I think. Now this is tier 4, so they are now not available as early, so this basically nerfs the early game a bit. Change cost of Bioplasma Vein, as it's supposed, like the Bio Vein, the add-on basically for the anti-vehicle spores, you could say, is now influence. Like all buildings cost mostly influence, apart from the tier buildings and tier researchers add-ons basically, and to be more in the influence cost line, these add-ons now also cost influence. Termagant's production cost increased a bit because they were really cheap for what they do. Gargoyles production cost reduced because they were a bit too high. Ripper Swarm production cost reduced a bit because I rarely saw Ripper Swarms. This is now to incentivize this. Biomorph Hive Tyrant Implant attack. It now increases the melee damage of base and upgrade weapons by 20%, reduced cost a bit. So this was something that was brought up that it would not work. Hive Tyrant Warp Field gives you, it now reduces melee and range damage taken by 40%, thus is now a bit expensive, and requires the Dragon Warren as a tier 4 upgrade for the Hive Tyrant to be an absolutely tanky beast. Warriors production cost increased and min damage value reduced because warriors are very strong. Pop cost of Bio Wars increased from 1 to 2 to be more in line with the greater big brutes. All Gaunt acclimatization research cost from 150 to 130. Influence cost is the same. So these Gaunt upgrades is now cheaper, and the Gaunts without number cost has been increased because this is the one that lets your guys get free. So this is now more expensive, especially the influence cost. You will notice Swarm of Gene Stealers also now more influence, so you get it a little later. Strength and Synapse Aura Biomorph cost reduced. This is that gives your buildings a higher synapse range, I think. Changelog feeder tendrils moved from tier 3 to tier 4, and the sizing talents moved from tier 2 to tier 3. So basically this is the feeder tendrils. What was it again? Is this like the detection or the... I forgot what this is, but the sizing talent is the one that makes them really strong melee wise, and if you have a swarm of gene stealers you can kill enemy HQs and stuff. So now you cannot do this in tier 4, you need to wait to tier 3. So hopefully this is also now a buff. You see some buffs to the gaunts, like in the research being cheaper, so hopefully this will be now better. Also some nerfs to the warriors, which were a bit overperforming, stuff like that. Let's see how they fare now. Some changes to Vostroyan Firstborn as well. We have over here, we have the gunloggers now moved to tier 3 because they were too strong in tier 2. The hunter sniper rifle reload increased to 9 seconds, setup increased, and damage reduced. So the hunters are now not so good hunters anymore, and hopefully better suiting for the how early you can get them. Standard barrel build time increased from 4 to 28, health increased, cost also increased, it looks like. Honor and death will now affect Hazaran, combat priest, commissar, and firstborn sergeants. Increase the shock. I'm not very familiar with Vostroyan Firstborn, so I cannot really tell you what this means in detail. Increase the shock trooper walk kite reload time, but damage output increased by 60%. So they shoot slower but higher boom. The Void Shriek's speed boost is now a dummy passive ability, while default speed is set at 16. This is to prevent any issues when running. In addition, they can now throw cryo grenades. Hunter Galvaric rifle. This is the hunter weapon you get when in Harmony. Requires the relic weapons resource as intended. Also includes reduced max weapon upgrades from 3 to 2. The Steheno standard weapon reload time has been increased because the Steheno is pretty strong. Fire support Lieutenant Aura decreased the reload time. Okay, not sure what this is all about. The firstborn arc rifle now requires Harmony. Oh, there was a bug that it did not require Harmony. I think this was the case at some point, and it broke, and now it's fixed again. The frag grenades of the Imperial Sturmoviki are changed to Tarborate grenades. They release a gas that erodes and destroys vehicles. Okay, cool. Fix the visual bug with the Sheetskoi texture. Okay, the survival reinforcement Banehammer now can be upgraded to a Stormblade. Okay, or like the Doomhammer. Tamor are gas added, like tier 4 ability to the Lord Regent. Interesting. New WO for the Steheno, Malkador, Doomhammer, and Banehammer. New unit. Flag Troopers, limited to 4, starts with 3 members in each. Tier 2, effective versus vehicles and aircraft, but not so much against infantry. So there was a lack of anti-vehicle units, infantry units, so this now helps with that. And the Mirror / Frost Maiden is a Psyker for the Vostroyan Firstborn, only limited to 1, and can use like this rain of ice and stuff like that. Really cool. Tier 3, I think. Yeah, for World Eaters not as much, as World Eaters are on hold for adjustments for their eventual rework. So we see only small things like the second battle tank has not a correct size, and Lord of Skulls also be a bit resized. So this is all for them. Now to Witch Hunters. Witch Hunters have a bit more, as you can see here. The Amolnus now can detect using the standard keen sight values. Before it was stated that the skull probe thingy she can get adds detection, which is, I think, coding wise not possible. So now she generally detects. Arbeits listening posts now can have a rally point for the doggos. The doggos got also some nerfs because they're a bit too strong, so they have less damage, cost a bit more, and a bit less HP. If this is too big of a nerf, please share some replays and tell us. Celestians melter guns can be now fired on the move. Accuracy loss when moved to 2.5 as they require to be stationary. Cost reduced as well, but the cost for the special weapons and witch hunters are sometimes really high. The training time reduced because they took forever to be built. Now it's better. They still take longer than Sisters of Battle Celestians, but not as much. They are now affected by the Dominion equipment resource, allowing them to increase their max weapons, which is nice because before they only had 2, now they get up to 4. Can now be upgraded with plasma guns and have a new voiceover. Seraphim training cost increased. Okay, additionally they have a new VO, voiceover. Seraphim training cost increased. I need to see how this plays out. Interesting. Maybe this is 22. I think the 30 is not correct. This should be correct. Reduced. This is more about you can get Seraphims relatively quickly and cheaply because you can need only an add-on which doesn't cost as much power. So now training cost is now higher. Reduce the reinforcement cost of the Arco-Flagellants by just a smidgen, so maintaining them is now cheaper on the power side. Repressor cap increased to 3. Oh no! But the first support cap research is moved to tier 2. So you still only can get 1 repressor in tier 1, but you can get up to 3 in tier 2. Also before getting a vehicle building. So there you go. Can get some more of the police tanks, police rhinos, you could say, in tier 2, and immediately in tier 2 that is. Venerable Dreadnought, Plasma Cannon and Multi-Melter from tier 4 to tier 3. As we have seen, Multi-Melter is okay in tier 3. The Tempestuous Xeons no longer requires any external win conditions are enabled of the normal roster. They still have their, I think, strategic point requirement. This is one I like. Crusaders are now enabled in skirmish. As such, they now only the tier 1 reinforcement in survival replacing the Seraphim. Tier 2 is now only 1 Celestians. This unit requires tier 2, I think, and are behind the 2 infantry researchers in the HQ. This is, I think, where they are. The Abbess Sanctorum is now renamed Priores as the real one, and is now the Sister Battle and received a new voiceover. And she can now be built in skirmish if you if you enable the Archeron victory condition. Not survival exclusive anymore. Really cool. The campaign version remains as is. New voiceover for the Arbeits melee support squads. The Arbeit melee fire support squads got also remastered. The new voiceover for the Retributor banner bearer. Improved voiceovers for the Rhino, the Tempestor, Incarcerator. This is the tank of the Inquisition. And Lord Inquisitor Karamazzo. This is the relic unit. Battle Sisters are now renamed into Dominion Sisters. They get a new voiceover, access to melter guns, Las Fusils. These are, I think, snipers, to suit their more militant focus compared to the normal Battle Sisters. Melter guns, now that they are available on the Battle Sisters, so that's why the melters of the Celestians got improved a bit, to that they fire on the move, and these need to be stationary, I think. The Canoness has received a new voiceover. Her jetpack research now requires the Hood of Clarity research to be done first, so they are now one after another. This makes sure that there are icons not overlapping. New unit, House Viridon Imperial Knight, counts as a tier 1 Titan for the Witch Hunters, available for both powers, comes with a fixed loadout. Yes, that one also counts as a Custodes unit. Here, more of them. So this is now a tier 1 Titan that Witch Hunters was missing before. There we go, we are almost done. Ynnari over here. Massive web-based support portal cost reduced because it was a bit too high. This is the tier 1 Titan, the Titan building. Fixed the bug with the Lynx jumping animations. and now additionally requires relic. So this is now actually a super heavy, and it has before a teleport but no animation and stuff like that. Now it has a clear jump as it should. Fix the bug where certain units would not spawn souls upon death. Basically the rangers. Tropes, Death Chasers and Shadow Walkers now, Shadow Dancers can now decap as their Harlequin equivalents. New ability for the Talos, similar to the Dark Elder Talos. The Screaming Machine. Here it costs only 1 soul because the souls are more rare to get, and here instead of 10. The soul economy bonus you can get got reworked a bit. Can now get you less but for longer and have a reduced cooldown. You can use them more often. The Swooping Hawks pop cost increased, and their last blaster penetration against buildings a bit reduced, and they got a new voiceover. New voiceover also for Storm Guardians. Rangers got also a new voiceover because they are like you see it. These voiceovers are like because before they had like voiceovers from the Eldar, now they have new voiceovers in Ynnari. The Wraith Seer is now part of the normal roster. Before it was a survival exclusive and can be trained from the massive web-based support portal, removed from the survival, for instance. It is now removed, but is now here. Cool. Tier 4 Wraith Seer stuff. Really liking the model and the abilities. The Lynx and Warwalker have traded places. Now the Warwalker is a survival and the Lynx takes its place. So the Lynx is a gruff, jumpy thingy with a lot of different weapon options, similar to the Warwalker, even one more that it cycles through, and has been reduced in HP to fit more in the tier 2 role. So now we have a really cool vehicle for the Craft World add-on. The tier 1 Titan, I think it's called, is now the Vampire Hunter, Craft World Eldar, replacing the Void Dragon Phoenix. That's reworked. Tier 2 is now a rare Shadow Stalker Titan, Dark Eldar, replacing the Phantom Titan. So you have now actually cool, unique units to the Ynnari Titans. I really like this one as well. So now the last bits and bobs over here. Some new maps, new survival maps with K Outpost with a special mechanic. New survival unit hazardous reconstruction. Debug Assault extended the platform and the beachside, so you can build more. Lake Index pathing and minicat updated. Rocks Guard pathing updated. Okay, some general stuff in the end. New win conditions. Superized attack wave doubles the amount of enemies per wave for you guys who like more of a challenge. Survival ARF. Any leftover map not having a slack deposit now has to accommodate for fire support. Win condition. Not really sure what this is mean. Implemented. There's a special fire support thingy. Implemented fire fix to the non-Ynnari map. Reworked the Harlequins profile. There's also for some survival maps. It is like a starting project to get also the the special map markers for Ynnari for all the survival maps. This has been started but not finished yet. Campaign added an interval delay to the Chaos Stronghold Chaos Sorcerer message when approaching the Eastern Territories. He won't repeat this line for all eternity. Yeah, this was a bit annoying. Various quality of life improvements in all strongholds, like the Dark Eldar stronghold got improved, like in the sense that the Dais of Destruction you should kill now retreats fast and stuff like that, so it cannot be cheesed as easily. Stuff like that. Added a secondary objective to the Necron stronghold to destroy the thermoplasma generator. Upon completion, its reward is added time to the Moral's Awakening counter. Before you would not really kill the thermoplasma generators in the middle. There was no real need. Now you can do that for some extra time. Various fixes to the scripted non-stronghold maps. There was some problems with some of the maps that has mostly been fixed. It is still, the campaign is still considered beta, so keep that in mind. Assault, the AI by default now is disabled, will only follow its predetermined scripts in each faction profile and thus no longer will spam huge amounts of units and unfairly make use of its advantage of bleed-based bases and its units F is in skirmish. Auto respawning of turrets is now disabled for the AI. Various more miscellaneous graphics. So Assault should now be more fair and more fun to play. Remove the following victory conditions or win conditions as they are not needed anymore. Unplug the speakers for Enclaves and Dust ends the prophecy for Ynnari. So, to be totally frank here, there were like they unplugged the speakers. There were some complaints in the Ynnari beta that in the Enclaves beta that the pings were too loud. This has been fixed, so the pings are a gameplay mechanic, so you cannot disable it. And thus ends the prophecy to not have Ynnari read your poems in the beginning is also something I do not understand why you would want it. This is an integral part of Ynnari, so yeah, no longer available. Added a 60-minute variant of the fast build, okay. Various fixes and improvements in the campaign, most notably scar-related bugs, fixes to random objective maps and stronghold events. Increase the min resource requirement to auto-reinforce. The auto-reinforce only kicks in if you have if you float more power, basically. So it's not, yeah, and a win condition. I never understand why you would let an RTS play itself is beyond me here. Fix the bug in Last Stand. Fix the scar arrow with the set piece. Map various smaller art and 3D fixes and improvements all across the mod, yes. AI improvements all across the mod, yes. There's with any new update or version, there's been rounds and rounds of AI improvements that are not listed individually. Very smaller UI fixes, various UCS local updates and improvements. This is something you will always have. There's so much text in the mod that you will always have some typos or some minor mistakes that will get fixed over the time. Okay, that's it. Only, again, 3 hours of a video. Oh my god. I hope I could show and explain you all of the changes. For some I was not have not complete knowledge of them, but for the ones I have and I was involved with, I gave you some background. And generally, I think this is a very healthy update, and I think some of the factions that are currently not being used in 1v1 settings will now hopefully be used more. Don't be shy to use the... Yeah, this is something in general. Don't be shy to use the factions that were considered overpowered until now, basically. And see if they are still overpowered. I look at you at Farsight Enclaves and stuff like that. The devs and we cannot get the factions properly fixed if nobody plays them, you know? If you have a faction that you think is too strong, make some replays, play some games, share some replays, and then you can see it in actual games what can and should be adjusted or not, basically. Okay, yeah, as the usual, guys, this is now also a little thanks to the dev team, which trusted me with a lot of making a lot of suggestions, making these videos and stuff like that. So I'm very grateful to be part of the team. Also for you guys to be so supportive, and yeah, I know you're asking for guides, and I will make more guides now that the update is out. It took a little longer than first anticipated, but I think it was worth the wait. So now I firstly will adjust my existing documents I have, and then will come up with more guides within the next weeks or so. The first one I will do is Night Lords, and then move from there. Okay, enough of the talk. If you really enjoy my content, want to support me, there's the membership option. But yeah, enough of that. As usual, guys, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.